Hey everybody, you're tuning in to the Canary Cry News Talk live stream pre-stream. Congratulations. Big congratulations to Eebs over on DLive for the first comment of the day. You did it, Eebs. All right, folks, as usual, we got a great show for you today. We're going to get started in just about a minute. A couple of things to note. Of course, there's always CanaryCry.Party. Make sure you follow in all sorts of fun locations. Follow us on the social media. Most importantly, join the mailing list. Gonz is currently putting together the email for all of last week's show notes and links to the episodes, so you're not going to want to miss out on that. Now, I will give out another notification. Producership is hurting a little bit today. So if you're out there and you've maybe never produced, or maybe it's been a while since you've produced, consider becoming a producer for today's show. We still are looking for an executive producer and or an associate executive producer for today's show. So there you go. If you want to participate in the value for value model and see your Canary Cry News Talk continue, please consider becoming a producer for today's show, episode 379. Okay, well, we are just about to get started, so stay hydrated and let's go, folks.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is August 23rd, 2021. This is episode 379, and today, Deadly Doghouse Down Under. Razzle Dazzle. I'm your best buddy, Basil.
And this is Gonz, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ. Welcome to the podcast where we bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious world events with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. Kind of messed that one up. A lot of world events going on.
I thought you were just giving us that Obama tense pauses between speaking.
Well, world events.
Yes. Well, we're back, and sure, lots of fun things happening today. Today
Fun.
And yesterday and the day before. Yeah, the people are getting out there, man. It's getting rowdy all over the world. So we'll be talking about that a little bit later in the show. But what about your weekend? Anything exciting? You punch any robots?
No robots to punch. Punched bags. Real quick, just as a side note, did you share the show on Facebook yet or no?
Yeah.
I don't see it.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's good radio.
Yeah, I know.
So what did you do on Facebook? Anything cool?
No, I log in to share the show,
cool.
and that's all I do, and I don't see it. So anyway, this weekend, not much, just sore from all the boxing, and that's about it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I'm trying to think. Did I do anything cool? No, I pretty much just took it easy, which I'm still recovering from the excitement of the past few weeks. But I guess that just means we get to get into the show nice and quick.
Yep. Let's start things off with a couple clips per usual. Gavin Newsom has a foe, and I don't know that it's going to be your Caitlyn, Basil.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm going to say just your Caitlyn.
It's Newsom Science, baby! Ha!
Larry Elder has been running to replace Newsom, and we mentioned Larry Elder a few episodes ago. You brushed him off as, he doesn't have a chance, and because his first PR video thing was not great. But here he is in a packed I guess it's an auditorium. I read that there's about 800 people packed in there. Nobody's wearing masks. And Larry Elder makes a promise from the stage.
I become governor, assuming I appreciate the optimism, sir. When I become governor, assuming there are still mandates for vaccines and mandates for face masks, they will be repealed before I have my first cup of tea.
Huge standing ovation for declaring that he will repeal the mask mandates and vaccine mandates if he becomes governor.
Happened? It was kind of muddy.
Yeah, kind of hard to
hear what was going on.
Yeah, kind of hard to hear, but that's what he said. Everybody in the auditorium stood up, cheered. I was reading that there was double the amount of people waiting outside, so about 1,400, 1,500 people trying to get in. So, yeah, I don't know, Basil. There's a little movement here.
Well, it is interesting because it's, Larry Elders is definitely more towards the Trump side of the GOP than sort of your standard, Republican politician. And I think what we're seeing is that the sort of Trumpian GOP-ness still holds a lot of influence. Because that's the thing with Caitlyn, and that's why I thought maybe, look, polling is not looking good for Caitlyn, but there's still a chance. Not that I care either way. It's just she had such good marketing at the beginning.
Well, yeah, marketing was great.
But it's too reasonable. Her message is too reasonable, not very, it's not very radical. She's not talking about necessarily, she's not promising to take down the mask mandates, things like this. It's that strong Trumpian conservatism that is still getting people all riled up.
Well,
so Larry Elders does have that going for him.
I just have a hard time imagining Caitlyn on stage in any kind of public event and just filling the crowd, really getting several hundred, maybe thousands of people really amped up in California. I just don't see that happening. So
and the performance on, what was it, The Masked Singer? Yeah. With that floating around, it's kind of hard to get anybody excited about what you're doing.
Stage presence. Stage presence is not great when you're a phoenix costume singing. What song was it? Some Kesha song or something she was singing?
Yeah. It was not good. It was very embarrassing. I mean, that's part of the reason why I guess I don't live in California, so I'm not necessarily
dox yourself.
This is
Listen to this.
Where else could I possibly be? You threw me off.
Sorry.
What was I going to say?
You don't live in California.
I don't live there, so the politics won't necessarily affect me.
Sure.
It would just be more fun teasing you for living in a state ruled by Caitlyn Jenner.
Well, I think the black conservative Republican has a good opportunity to dethrone Newsom in a few weeks here. So
well, there you go. I mean, he seems like an okay guy. He's picked up his marketing a little bit. So looks like he's got a chance.
Yep. The other clip I wanted to play just at the top of the show here was something that I came across. I don't know the exact source, meaning the year, but with so much of Biden now, seeing him kind of fumble around and forget things and trail off into nonsense as he's on stage or doing a press conference, I thought it'd be interesting to show a clip of Biden, still much older, so this can't be too old of a clip because he's still got his gray hair going, but you can tell he's way more spruce, and he in this 20 seconds he reveals quite a bit about our relationship with China. And so here it is.
I do know a lot about foreign policy, as much as anybody in this room, including if you're Henry Kissinger, who I love. Folks, we have mortgaged our foreign policy. Everyone's out there going, oh my God, how in God's name? The Chinese came here and the president didn't get anything. Guess what? They own us.
Oh,
Yeah. Biden
straight from the horse's mouth.
Straight up saying they own us. And you know what's really weird for those of you watching? He does this weird forehead scratch when he says that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. I mean, is his microchip starting to, the Chinese microchip or something?
He's certainly getting all worked up.
It's just a weird.
This looks like that sometime in the 90s, maybe.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, but it could have been early 2000s too. I mean,
yeah.
But anyway,
same diff.
I thought especially for younger viewers and listeners who may not know Biden other than just his old self now. There was a time, you go back in time and the video footage he's really, he's like in your face, kind of had a Cuomo feel to it. I do know. And of course he mentions Kissinger, who I love. It's like, ooh, you love Kissinger, huh? It's not a great look either. He's got
such an aggressive tone in what he's saying there. You could easily be like, wow, is he mad at Kissinger? What is he so mad about?
That's why he has to
clarify.
Yeah. I love Kissinger. I just love kissing him along with other
kissing
children.
Her.
Yeah.
Anywho, speaking of kissing her, let's talk about Flippy.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Okay, folks, if you're new to the show, Flippy is the colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways the robots are taking over the world and just how there's nothing we can do about it. Today, just a small Flippy update, Gons, from sciencemag.org. And the headline is "Watch a Tiny Robot Powered by Alcohol." Robots tend to be powered by batteries and plug sockets, but the Robeetle is a little different. This insect-sized microbot, defined as weighing less than 1 gram, runs on methanol, a type of alcohol commonly found in solvents and antifreeze. Liquid fuels like methanol hold more energy per unit volume than batteries, especially on a small scale. This means methanol-powered microbots don't require an additional external power source, such as wires or electromagnetic fields. They could therefore theoretically move around with more autonomy than their electrically powered counterparts, while retaining their minuscule size. In a new study, researchers designed tiny artificial muscles that can contract and relax just like the real thing. The system uses nickel-titanium alloy wires covered in platinum powder, which speeds up the burning of methanol vapor. This produces heat, which causes wires in the robot's legs to shorten and, after cooling, re-extend, driving the Robeetle's movement. The Robeetle weighs only 88 milligrams and can haul objects up to 2.6 times its own weight. The team reports today in Science Robotics it can carry an additional 95 milligrams of fuel, which could power the robot for up to 2 hours. It's also capable of climbing up slopes and can navigate surfaces with all kinds of different textures, including glass, foam, sleeping pad, and a concrete sidewalk. Scientists now need to figure out how to refuel the robot to keep it continuously powered over longer periods. If they can program the Robeetle to communicate with its human operator, methanol-powered microbots could one day act as artificial pollinators or assist complex surgeries. So it may be small, Gons, but oh, is it mighty. A few little points to point out here. Number one, no electronics. So this robot is immune to EMPs and EMP-based weaponry. So this is a bit of a threat once the robot takeover begins. And, there's no defeating these little guys. Second of all, runs on alcohol. I mean, that's just fun. It's like Futurama once again calling the future. We all know beloved Bender the robot, who runs strictly on alcohol. And that's become even closer to a reality. So that's always fun. Lastly, talking about these little tiny robots acting as artificial pollinators. So replacing the bees. Who needs to save the bees when you can have robot bees? And assist complex surgeries. So we're talking about, microbots crawling around inside your body to, just another step in the transhumanism medical justification for indestructible tiny robots. Are you scared yet, Gons?
No, when they start praying, that's when I'll be afraid.
1001. Amen.
Not too far off, my friend. So there you go. Just a short, tiny micro flippy update for you there, coming from sciencemag.org.
Excellent. And, you already mentioned the Futurama thing, so I guess we don't have to talk too much about that. But that is interesting that they would use alcohol. I've gone to the... Gosh, I don't even remember. Somebody in the chat might know what it's called, but basically it's like a motorcycle race type deal, bike race, and it's all powered by alcohol, so you can kind of smell it in the air. Do you know what I'm talking about?
They call that the Sturgis motorcycle rally.
Okay, sure. Yeah, it was in Orange County, so I don't know. Maybe there's a location for it, but I've gone to that.
Humor. So what is that? That is
it's just a motorcycle that's fueled by alcohol, and they do racing. So it's fun.
Sounds fun. Sounds cool.
Yep. Okay. Are we ready to dive into all the craziness?
We've got a lot to cover.
Yeah.
WACCINE.
A pandemic special.
Vaccination.
Just going to start off with that. Before we get into the stories, though, Basil, I think I forgot to put the story about the FDA approving the Pfizer jab this morning.
Oh, yeah. That's breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news. I do have the letter here from the FDA that came out this morning.
Okay.
And I was kind of skimming through it a little bit, but it's weird because they say like, oh, it's approved, but emergency use is still in play, and I don't know if it's in play for a certain age group or why they would still need to have it in play if it's approved now, which doesn't make much sense to me. But this letter is really long. Yeah.
Yeah. So say that again. They still have the emergency use authorization.
Yeah.
In play, but then they on top of that made it official.
Yeah. So I think what's going on, and I could be wrong here because we don't have like a story, but we can probably find one. But
this just happened like
this morning.
Ago.
Yeah. The thing that's interesting is that there is a new name for the vaccines, and I'm wondering if this is just kind of like a rebrand happening for Pfizer. Okay. And I'm trying to find it in here. There's the name of it is kind of interesting. I did tweet out about it. It's kind of a cross between like a communist, and the Illuminati. It's called Comirnaty or Comirnaty. Comirnaty.
Is this in place of mRNA vaccine?
Yeah, it's like the mRNA. Comirnaty. There it is. Comirnaty. COVID-19 vaccine mRNA for active immunization. So yes, August 23rd, 2021, FDA approved the biologics license application submitted by BioNTech Manufacturing for I don't know how you say that. Comirnaty. It's like trying to say community in like an Asian accent. Community.
Okay.
For active immunization to prevent COVID-19 caused by SARS-CoV-2 in individuals 16 years of age and older. So, okay, there you go. Having concluded that revising this EUA, emergency use authorization, is appropriate to protect the public health or safety under section blah, 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 blah. FDA is reissuing the August 12th, 2021 letter of authorization in its entirety with revisions incorporated to clarify that the EUA, the emergency use authorization, will remain in place for the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine for the previously authorized indication and uses, and to authorize the use of Comirnaty under this EUA for certain uses that are not included in the approved BLA. So, okay. So I guess it's just confusing. It's like, all right, what is this? Like,
that doesn't sound like an approval.
No, that's what I'm
FDA.
saying. What am I missing here? This is just like, oh yeah, this new thing for sure, approve. But also nothing changes. It's almost like
they're including this Comirnaty from or including it in the emergency use authorization.
Yeah, it's just a weird like the letter. When you read the letter, that's what I was confused about. I'm like, okay, first off, this is a really dense letter for like a public statement about the approval. But also, what are they saying? I don't understand. Do you need like a lawyer or something to break this down, or what? Like, because upon reading it, and I kind of skimmed through it quickly. I wasn't really digging too deep, but it just seemed like it's like a formality, and nothing really changes. It's like they're doing it just so the headlines can all say approved.
In the chat here, producer Ebony Blaze posted from a December 30th, 2020 article in a joint press release from BioNTech and Pfizer, commented on the vaccine's brand name. And the quote is, "The vaccine will be marketed in the EU under the brand name Comirnaty, which represents a combination of the terms COVID-19, mRNA, community, and immunity to highlight the first authorization of messenger RNA vaccine."
Or commie, RNA, and Illuminati. But go ahead.
Sure. I mean, it's so, yeah, that's weird. I don't know. I'm not reading that from the source. That's coming from Ebony Blaze, who found this from December. So, So I guess that's been what they've been planning on all along. But they could have taken like a second to make a better name, but apparently they're not too worried about the marketing, as if marketing meant anything when you have such a monopoly on a COVID-19 vaccine. For when you got what everybody wants, Gons, doesn't matter what you call it.
I guess, but yeah, just to note that we're seeing the news about this, and does it really matter with all this stuff? Because ultimately, what they're going to do is say, "Oh, see, the FDA approved it. All the science is in, and now the mandate police can really lock down and tighten the screws on." Yeah.
Well, that is strange because I think it was Biden who tweeted today. Could be a quick check. Maybe you can check that while we're doing it here. Tweeted today like, "Oh, you people have been waiting for FDA approval. Well, here it is. It's approved. Go get your vaccine." But it doesn't sound like it's so confusing what you just read to me versus what we're being told. But whatever. I mean, remember Anthony Fauci just came out like a week ago and said, "It will be approved. Don't even worry. It is guaranteed to be approved," which is, an easy thing to believe when, Fauci, the master of the universe, is pulling the strings.
I guess Biden did a little presser. I mean, we don't have to play the clips here, but so, I mean, yeah, just keeping that in mind. We're moving forward here, and we're going to look at some of the stories that are coming in, and we're going to do kind of a world tour today, go to a whole bunch of different countries and talk about what's going on, but also highlight sort of the split narrative. I'm noticing again this like push in the news towards skeptical, we don't know for sure, like that kind of more objective approach. And the people that are like, you will go to jail if you don't isolate, that kind of stuff. So to kick us off here real quick, I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's kind of long and pointless, and it drives home the point that we're going to make in other stories here. But this is Bloomberg, mirrored on MSN headline. The vaccinated are worried, and scientists don't have answers. Bloomberg. You had mentioned that Bloomberg is right of center. I don't know that to be true. So. I don't think so. I think they were pretty a little left leaning. I mean, Michael Bloomberg, didn't he run against, or was going to run against Trump as a Democrat?
Yeah, but he's a Democrat in the same way that Donald Trump is a Republican. They're just billionaires who just kind of choose a side, whatever side will get them.
Yeah.
He's a big corporate billionaire Democrat.
Yeah. All right. So the article starts off here. Anecdotes tell us what the data can't.
Dun, dun, dun.
Vaccinated people appear to be getting the coronavirus at a surprisingly high rate, but exactly how often isn't clear. That's because they stopped tracking it. Nor is it certain how likely they are to spread the virus to others, even though they said that you can be vaccinated and still spread the disease. Right off the bat, I think it's interesting that they're coming at this with the anecdotes tell us what data can't. And it's like, well, wait a minute. What happened? The entire bashing of people that are skeptical or hesitant has been, oh, you don't have the science. These are just, you have anecdotes. You have stories from people. You don't even know what's really going on about people dying from the vaccine or, having issues from the vaccine.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's generally a good rule that anecdotes are not data. Well, I mean, one anecdote is not data. You need a whole bunch of anecdotes.
Well, that's
to make
the thing, though.
Data.
That's the thing, though. We've covered the scientists and medical professionals that post on their own social media, all saying oh, we have issues with this and all, But that's all whatever. It's all just fringe conspiracy theory.
If I may reword what you're trying to say, which is when it's the vaccine hesitant. Anecdotes are misinformation.
There you go.
But the Bloomberg is coming to Bloomberg news outlet here is coming to the conclusion that there's just so many anecdotes that it can't be ignored.
Yeah.
In their opinion.
Yeah. And by the way, Bloomberg rated as left of center, mostly factual.
No, mostly. Well, yeah, they're into anecdotes.
Yeah.
So. Well, I think it's interesting, but mainly not as an opportunity to bash Bloomberg, but to put it on the spectrum of the shift that we've been seeing, the tanker that is making a big, slow turn on the vaccine.
Yeah. A couple more paragraphs and then we'll move on. Though it is evident vaccination still provides powerful protection against the virus, the caveat, always have to have the caveat. Still get your vaccines. It still works. We promise.
Right.
There's growing concern that vaccinated people may be more vulnerable to serious illness than previously thought. There's a dearth of scientific studies with concrete answers, leaving public policymakers and corporate executives to formulate plans based on fragmented information. While some are renewing mask mandates or delaying office reopenings, others cite the lack of clarity to justify staying the course. It can all feel like a mess. That's kind of what we've been saying.
Right. Yeah.
So it's interesting that Bloomberg is, again, like you mentioned, this turning the ship around a little bit among other news outlets. Bloomberg's not the only one. I mean, they were the ones a month ago saying, Delta variant can spread and it's way more contagious. I mean, they were on that narrative train too. So just kind of interesting how we see the shift here.
Yeah, and I mean to summarize the rest of the article, I mean they go through all the numbers about how breakthrough infections are becoming more and more common, and mentions Israel and using Israel as an example for what might happen here. So don't worry, do not be afraid. This is all expected.
But it's
There's
also
just a lot we don't know.
Yeah, a lot we don't know narrative too, and part of it also is the justification for a booster here. And I have this paragraph highlighted, so I'll just read that. For the time being, and this is at the end of the article, for the time being, there are simply more questions than answers. Are breakthrough infections ticking up because of the Delta variant, waning immunity, or a return to normal life? Are vaccinated people more vulnerable to severe illness than previously thought? Just how common are breakthrough infections? It's anyone's guess. It's like, wow, okay.
Put it in the realm of guessing versus, well, what does the science say, my man? Because you've got all these scientists saying that the vaccine is not working as much as we thought it was.
Science is truth.
Along the same lines, I got this from express.co.uk. The headline, hundreds of doctors sign open letter to Prime Minister, need debate on flawed COVID guesses.
There it is, the guessing.
Yeah. Over 100 doctors and health professionals have signed an open letter to the Prime Minister. This is in Great Britain here, calling for an open and proper scientific debate about the pandemic policy, arguing COVID restrictions are based on flawed assumptions. 133 doctors, nurses, nurses, psychiatrists, paramedics, and midwives signed the letter released today, which states that despite a, quote, complete lack of widespread approval among health professionals of the pandemic policies, no attempt has been made to measure the harms of lockdown policies. The letter, also addressed to the Health Secretary and First Ministers for Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, states, quote, you have failed to engage in dialogue and show no signs of doing so. You have removed from people fundamental rights and altered the fabric of society with little debate in Parliament. The signatories from a broad range of specialties came forward despite the risk of doing so to both their jobs and reputations. Founding signatory Dr. Ross Jones, a retired pediatric consultant, said, quote, we wrote the letter as a group of healthcare professionals connected only by our deep concern and shared commitment to first do no harm. We can no longer stand by in silence. We are not the first group of medically and scientifically qualified professionals to write in such terms to the government. In March, 22 eminent scientists publicly called for drastic policy change. We sincerely hope we'll be the last who feel the need to write such a letter. Dr. Alan Mordew, another founding signatory, said, quote, to move forward now, our governments urgently need to facilitate a wider and open debate within the medical and scientific community for the short term as we lift restrictions and the longer term to improve how we manage winter respiratory viruses and pandemics in the future. And the article goes on. It even shows the list of signatories on the letter here. But there you go. More examples of healthcare professionals calling into question the tyranny being exercised by their government over there.
This is a huge list of doctors.
133.
Yeah, and nurses and all this kind of stuff. You know, it's really fascinating. I have a neighbor who's a nurse. Mm-hmm. And she was kind of, we were all outside, the kids playing or whatever, and she was talking to some of the neighbors, and they asked her, you know, how's the hospital? And she says, 80% unvaccinated are, you know, in the hospitals. Mm-hmm. And, you know, everyone's, and then she goes on to say, you know, we only have 35 ICU beds, and, you know, there's no way of really knowing because, and she was explaining basically that with the variant, you know, they exactly what we've heard and we've reported on too is that they'll take the tests, they take it to a lab, and then they do like a random sample, and then they extract whether, you know, and, you know, the whole issue with, so it was interesting because she's pro-vax, all that kind of stuff. But even she was kind of saying some of the things that we've reported on, which made me feel good about it. I was like, okay, good. At least we're over the target when it comes to some of the issues and the discrepancies that are out there when it comes to how they're measuring everything and how they're, and so it was interesting that she said 80%, and then she had all these caveats like, well, we don't really know, the sample randomly,
Yeah.
And it was a great example to me, like, hey, you know, people just like to peddle the narrative There's no data behind it, really.
You belong. You can choose what group you want to belong to. If you want to belong to the authorities and the government and, feel like you're part of the mainstream, you just say what they say.
Yeah.
And and if they question you, then you're just some sort of radical.
Right. Okay, so along those same lines here, we have the Telegraph. Scientists created false narrative over suspected COVID leak from Wuhan labs, say experts.
No kidding. Are we experts now, Gons? That's what we've been saying for 18 months.
Yeah, by default, I guess we are. The scientific establishment created a false narrative about whether coronavirus leaked from a Chinese lab and dismissed critics as, quote, conspiracy theorists, experts have claimed. Yeah, I think you're right. We are the experts now.
No, we can't claim to be experts. That's how you get canceled,
I know. In a new documentary for Channel 4 looking into whether the virus escaped from the laboratory in Wuhan, scientists said that a small vocal group had, quote, stepped way out beyond the evidence. Last February, a group of 27 scientists, including Sir Jeremy Farrar, president of the Wellcome Trust, wrote a letter in The Lancet stating, quote, we stand together to strongly condemn conspiracy theories suggesting that COVID-19 does not have a natural origin. However, it later emerged that one of the key people behind the letter was Peter Daszak, who had worked closely with Wuhan scientists researching SARS-related coronaviruses in bats. An addendum to the Lancet letter setting out his links to the Chinese lab was not published until June this year. A further article published in Nature Medicine also claimed there was no evidence to suggest that the virus had been manipulated, but scientists told filmmakers it was wrong to draw such conclusions based on the available evidence. David Relman, professor of microbiology and immunology at Stanford University, who advises the U.S. government on biological threats and risks, said, quote, I was a little perplexed and a little bit upset with 5 very good scientists, some of whom I know well, who I thought stepped way out beyond what they should have been saying based on the data available to all of us, end quote. Richard Elbright, professor of chemistry and chemical biology at Rutgers University, added, quote, these were not scientific papers. They did not present scientific evidence. They did not analyze and support scientific data. They were presenting opinion. They did not belong in scientific journals.
Science is truth.
Quote, a small group of scientists aided by journalists established and enforced a false narrative that science shows SARS-CoV-2 was a natural zoonotic spillover, and a further false narrative that this was the scientific consensus. Mm-hmm. Sounds like they've been just listening to our show. I know that's not the case, but it's just like, it sounds like these scientists were just sitting there listening to every minute. Well,
honestly, we were just giving voice to the larger scientific community who are being hijacked by these narrative pushers.
Yeah.
That's what we saw for a year or more was, lots of credible, talented, actual scientists pushing back, being like, wait, no, you look at the emails. That was the Fauci emails. He knew in January of 2020 that it was not consistent with, natural evolutionary theory. This looks like it was created. And like this guy said, it's just a small group of scientists and journalists, aided by journalists, who enforced a false narrative.
Yeah.
Not presented a false narrative, not nothing. It was an enforced false narrative. And that's what, that's the biggest problem we have with the whole thing, is the enforcement of a narrative rather than, actually seeking the truth.
Yeah. It says here, the documentary shows how a disparate group of scientists had been forced to launch their own investigation into the origins of COVID-19. They discovered that the Wuhan team had been working with a virus in 2013 that is the closest ever found to SARS-CoV-2.
That's interesting.
Yeah. The virus had been discovered in horseshoe bats living in a mine shaft in Mojiang, Yunnan, China in 2013. The same mine shaft was also associated with a severe pneumonia-like illness in miners in 2012, which killed 3 people. Professor Nikolai Petrovsky, director of endocrinology at Flinders Medical Center in Australia, told filmmakers he had established that COVID-19 had emerged already perfectly adapted to infect humans. His team used computer models to test which species the virus bound the most strongly and found it was humans. And there you go. So that's pretty much the story. But yeah, more and more than the mainstream.
I think the real quick, sorry, because the part you just skipped was very interesting. He believes the ancestor of the virus, meaning somewhere in 2013, may have been grown in human cells or humanized mice, and over multiple generations evolved to infect humans before escaping. Professor Petrovsky said that the way the coronavirus spread so quickly around the world without initially needing to mutate was highly unusual. The program, Did COVID Leak from a Lab in China, will broadcast at 10:15 on Sunday. This is the Telegraph, so probably somewhere over in the UK there. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, and I think we the story about the mice, I think we did report that once came out that, Fauci had known about some of that stuff.
Yeah. Speaking about what Fauci knew and didn't know,
oh boy,
there's a fun article here from DailyMail.co.uk. The headline: Blue surgical face masks are only 10% effective in preventing COVID infection, new study finds.
Oh, no.
Yes, your little blue, the regular blue ones there, you see they pass them out for free wherever you go. Most blue surgical face masks used by many during the pandemic are not enough to avoid people from being infected with COVID-19. An alarming new study has found. The study from the University of Waterloo in Canada showed N95 or KN95 masks did the best job. Yeah, we know this. The blue cloth surgical masks that have become popular during the pandemic were found to be only 10% effective, as it does not cover the face properly. There is no question it is beneficial to wear any face covering, both for protection in close proximity and at a distance in a room. Study leader Serhiy Yarusevich, a professor of mechanical, this is interesting, professor of mechanical and mechatronics engineering.
Oh, sounds like you want to be best friends with this guy.
Mechatronics. However, there is a very serious difference in the effectiveness of different masks when it comes to controlling aerosol. Dun, dun, dun. So, yeah, long story short, those blue faces, the studies are in, folks. Those blue face masks do absolutely nothing. Well, they do 10% of what people think that they're doing.
Yeah, this is one of those studies. I saw this and threw it in the notes yesterday, and I'm driving out here to the office here, and just seeing people in cars wearing their blue face masks, I was just kind of like,
people are still driving around with their masks on.
Yes. There's people walking around outside. It's not everybody. Certainly there's a good amount of people who just don't care, like me. I don't care. I'm not wearing masks anywhere. But yeah, it's pretty funny to see the people inside walking around outside, over the weekend. We go to a little shopping area or whatever, and there's, people walking around outside with masks, and it's like, what are you doing? You're just suffocating yourself.
They're fitting in, Gons.
Or not. I don't know. There's a lot of people not wearing masks anymore, so the splitting, the culling of society as it divide and conquers. All right, so I wanted to jump in because and move on to Australia. It's kind of the whole heart of the artwork for today, and the title of the episode, Deadly Doghouse Down Under. And we received an email from Emily T. I've noticed Emily T. Comment on my Twitter, and also I think she came in as a producer today as well. And I don't know, should I read the note now, or should I do some of the stories first? Because I think maybe the stories will set it up well for why things are going down the way they are in Australia right now.
Sure, whatever you think.
All right, so let's. We got a couple stories from the Sydney Morning Herald. This first one: hunt for Sydney man who tested positive to COVID-19, failed to isolate.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Failed. He failed.
He failed. Police have appealed for public help to find a Sydney man who they say has tested positive for COVID-19 and has failed to isolate. An arrest warrant has been issued for Anthony Karam, 27, who police allege has, quote, failed to isolate as directed by the public health order. New South Wales Chief Health Officer Kerry Chant issued a public warning statement saying Mr. Karam posed a risk to the health or safety of the public. Quote, the community is warned to avoid contact with Mr. Karam and not approach him, she said. Police urged anyone who sees him or knows of his location to call 000 or Crime Stoppers.
Wow, Crime Stoppers.
Mr. Karam, who's about 170 centimeters tall with a thin build, is known to frequent the Sydney suburbs in Greenacre, Wentworth Point, and Parramatta. Police said they have unsuccessfully attempted to find Mr. Karam multiple times since his positive COVID test. So they're coming after you if you test positive. You know, I have a hard time believing that they're going to go to this level in the U.S., but also it's definitely a possibility with the way things, or at least in certain parts of the country. I can see this happening.
It is an interesting situation specifically because, you know, as has been the talking point for a year and a half now, you know, with quarantine and things like that, you know, quarantine is not locking healthy people away. It's not, you know, quarantine is when somebody is actually sick. And,
it's supposed to be
spread it, right?
Even though a bunch of healthy, all the healthy people in the world also locked down for the last year and a half.
Right. So, of course, a man, if he is officially positive and running
tested
amok,
positive.
Sure, whatever. Yeah, officially in the office.
Sure, okay.
He has a paper that says that he tested positive. And, you know, the weird thing is that they had somebody watching him. Like, how do they know? Somebody was watching his house, or he was some sort of tracking. How do they know that he's out and about?
Yeah, and where? Yeah, why didn't they get him when he was out and about? Did they maybe some of the tracing or the tracking?
It's something. I don't know. But yeah, I mean that is a bold move to test positive and then to just run amok. It's a pretty bold move.
Well, now, especially now that there's like a warrant, his mug shot, everything's all over the news.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you do now? And what do you do? This is like a movie, you know. He comes in.
If you see this vermin, call Crime Stoppers.
Well, especially because now, you know, if he's a friend or something, and he comes knocking on your door, you know, what do? You're like, oh, bro, you're all over the news, you know?
Yeah, it's going to be hard for him to, find a friendly help hiding when he's sort of seen as a danger to whoever he's in a house with.
Also, you have COVID too? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Okay, this next story, also very egregious. Do you want to take this one?
Sure. I'm sorry, I'm not on our document. Going to the document. Oh, yeah. This is from smh.com.au, the Sydney Morning Herald. And the headline, Rescue Dogs Shot Dead by NSW Council Due to COVID-19 Restrictions. Oh, no. Several impounded dogs due to be rescued by a shelter have instead been shot dead by a rural council in NSW. What is that? New South Wales. Under its interpretation of COVID-19 restrictions, alarming animal activists and prompting a government probe. Berkshire Council in the state's northwest killed the dogs to prevent volunteers at a Cobar-based animal shelter from traveling to pick up the animals last week, according to the council's watchdog, the official local government. OLG, official local government, has been informed that the council decided to take this course of action to protect its employees and community, including vulnerable Aboriginal populations, from the risk of COVID-19 transmission. A spokesman from the government agency said. The spokesman said the agency was examining the circumstances of the incident to find out whether companion animal cruelty prevention laws had been broken. The Herald attempted to contact the council administration multiple times, but received no response. And a member of Rural Outback Respite Rescue, the shelter that was supposed to receive the dogs, declined to comment. A source who is familiar with the arrangement said the shelter volunteers were distressed and had COVID-safe measures in place to handle the dogs, one of which was a new mother. According to NSW Health, there have been no recent locally acquired COVID-19 cases in Cobar, although fragments of the virus have been found in the area's sewerage systems. The sewer surveillance used as justification to lock down this area. The Office of Local Government Minister Shelley Hancock, who has previously faced questions in Parliament over the shooting of animals in council pounds, did not comment. Dude, shooting is one of the craziest parts about this.
It's so nuts. No
not
cases.
Putting them down. They're just taking them out and shooting them.
Why? This makes me mad because it's like no cases, fragments in the sewer. Let's just take out the dogs.
Well, and the dogs, it wasn't even that the dogs were infected.
That's what I'm saying.
They just didn't want people traveling to pick up the dogs. And they're like, volunteers, we'll take care of these dogs. And to keep the volunteers from showing up, from traveling outside of their house, they shot the dogs. Like, now no reason for you to leave your house. The dogs are dead. It's really sick.
It's so messed up. It makes me so mad.
Yeah. I think this is an interesting, now, of course, this is sort of an isolated incident in a rural area in New South Wales, but that's the type of climate that the Australian government has created. Like, we just don't want people driving their cars. Better to shoot a bunch of dogs than let them go live with a volunteer family. It's complete madness.
I mean, at this point, if you think that this isn't about government power tripping, authoritarian government power tripping, I don't think you can be convinced, because at this point, we're beyond logic. We're beyond any kind of justification. I mean, the reasons are just ridiculous. I mean, this is a level of psychosis, I would say. It has to be. Oh, no.
We have reached a level of madness that... we've come close to before, but this is a new level. I mean, can you imagine being that guy who's on the run because of your PCR test, and you just heard they shot a bunch of dogs for less than what you're doing? They shot a bunch of dogs to not let healthy people leave their house, and you're on the run, known as a super spreader. This guy might just get shot on sight.
He probably, he would. I would lay low. I would grow a beard and try to get out. I mean, I don't know if that's even possible at this point.
He needs to swim to Indonesia or something.
Yeah, seriously. It's true. The true refugees of our generation, I guess.
That's crazy.
It's insane.
If he is sick, he should not be getting other people sick.
If he's sick, he should not be getting in the water trying to swim.
If he is sick, he's gonna have a hard time running.
Yeah,
he's gonna be a little short of breath. But just to make sure that we are, being reasonable here. If the guy is actually sick with COVID-19, he should not be trying to, putting himself in positions to spread it to other people. I mean, let's be clear about that. But it is crazy that, there's a nationwide manhunt for him.
Yeah. Well, based on a couple of these stories and the ongoing protests, there's a scripture in the Bible, Basil, about the first horseman riding in on a white horse, and there seems to be a similar situation in Australia There's a clip here that went kind of viral.
Okay.
And it is a man. He's barebacking a white horse. And for those of you just listening, it's not going to be as good, but also there's a part at the end that it just makes me so happy. Here it is.
Cross over! Everyone, go across the border! Cross over! They cannot arrest all of us!
I love that he's like, yeah, get going on that horse.
Yeah, and then he just speeds off on his white horse. Yeah. That is pretty funny. I mean, he's riding through this crowd a little too fast for how crowded this crowd is, but okay, nobody got hurt. That's good.
He almost hit this little girl. It was like a little girl right there.
It's pretty dangerous riding a horse that fast through a crowd, but it's okay. He's given his William Wallace moment. I don't know if it was as effective as he wanted it to be. You could hear the crowd. He's like, cross over the border. They can't arrest us all. And there's like a couple of guys in the crowd are like, no, we don't want to.
I did notice that. You know, the one thing that so I think this is good in the vacuum of things of trying to get people aware of the situation. But the one thing that is kind of not concerning, but it makes me think that this is the counter narrative, the counter agenda here, is because that whole idea of wrong thing that I'm trying to show you, that idea of they can't arrest us all. That's familiar from just a couple weeks ago when Rand Paul got banned. This is how he started his video. This is the video that got banned on YouTube.
It's time for us to resist. They can't arrest all of us.
Yeah.
That whole idea. Why? Why is that the thing being pushed out there?
Well, because it's true. Number one, people are realizing that there are enough resistors that they just literally cannot arrest everyone.
I know, but it is also this clarion call of like, hey, rebel. Some of you might get arrested, but they can't arrest us all. You know what I mean? It's that Revelation 13, kind of mindset where it's like, oh, if you are captive to captivity, you will go. Endure till the end.
Yeah. Well, the same thing was being said, during the Black Lives Matter and Antifa riots in the U.S. too. I mean, that it's a motivator for people.
Sure, I guess.
And the motivation in lots of past, when you break it down, the motivation is, yeah, we can do whatever we want. Some of us will get arrested, but they're not going to get all of us. So you're kind of gambling with, are you going to be the one who gets picked out of the crowd? But it's also, that's the controlling factor from authoritarians is if you are able in one way or another to limit the amount of resistance to where you can arrest all the resistors, then you can maintain control. But yeah, when people figure out that you can't arrest the entire population of resistors, it's a very motivating sort of I guess concept. Apparently not to this crowd of Aussies, but
yeah, well, riding on a white horse through a crowd to have your William Wallace moment is one thing. It's a whole other thing that the truckers are doing over there, allegedly, according to this clip here of an Australian trucker.
Good morning, Australia. We've been talking to everyone around the world. Everyone around Australia. It's on. The truckies are doing it. We need you and everyone else to support, to watch this video, hand it up, and let everyone in Australia know that the truckies are going to shut down the country. What that means is you need to go shopping now, get what you can for the next week or two, load your fridge, freezers. The truckies are coming and they're going to pull this country down, and we're all going to do it together and remove the government. Ooh. The vets are in, the truckies are in. I'm in. I'm willing to go to jail to save my country and my children. If you want to do this, you've got to do it together as one. A new video has just been sent out about Fauci admitting that they got money from China to do the research fund, which I'll put up on my TikTok page for everyone to go have a look at. They knew it was a poison. So every government who bought into Pfizer, it even says on the contract that we've been sending out to everyone, they know it's poison. Do you want to poison the rest of your family? Ignore this message. If you don't want to poison your family and you're a smart person with a heart and a lot of common sense, you'll pass this on.
Truckies
and vets are going to shut down the government.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Truckies can do it.
Yeah.
Of course, in the U.S. parlance, we call them truckers. We love our Canary Cry truckers. You got that trucker jingle anywhere handy?
Yeah, hold on here. It takes a second. There it is.
This is Rover Ducky. What's your 1020? Over.
We got us a convoy. Over.
Yeah, I mean, they are. That's very interesting. I would be curious to know if all the Australian truckies really are on board, but if this guy is to be believed, all the truckers get together and decide one thing. I mean, that's the fate of the country right there.
Yeah,
it's interesting how they're taking it so far as to say we're going to bring down the government.
Well, he used the profanity there that I cut out. He used the poop word.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying. He called it the poop government.
Oh, sure.
Taking down the poop government.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. So he's talking about, certainly having the truckers all on board, acting in one fashion like that is a very strong negotiating tool. So, the Australians, they've been having the worst time of it. And they got pushed. The Aussies are getting pushed to the limit, man. Things are going to start happening. This will be very interesting to see.
Yeah, and so Emily T's note here, she sent it with a link from a story from The Guardian. Australia anti-lockdown rallies. Protesters violently clash with police in Melbourne. And the note says, please take a look at this Guardian news article, which is grossly misrepresenting one of Australian protests on Saturday in Melbourne, Victoria. In the article here, she quotes, police said in a statement, the majority of the estimated 4,000 demonstrators, quote, came with violence in mind. And then the behavior seen by police was so hostile and aggressive that they were left with no choice but to use all tactics available to them, the statement said. And Emily comments, yeah, so that's a big fat lie. She gives us a link to live footage on Facebook. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Did you look at that live feed?
I was not able to get it to load on my end, but she gave us some timestamps for the parts that she was talking about specifically. Did that come in on the Gmail here?
Yeah, it's all part of the same email here. So
okay.
Skip to 2940. Yeah, it's not loading on my browser, though.
It wasn't loading for me either, but I think you can get the point just by reading her stuff. Because she gives timestamps.
I got it.
And okay.
I got it. Do you want to read it so I can try to get to the times?
Sure. I got to pull it up again. Who is this? This is from Emily.
Emily T. She says, first attempt was pretty egregious as police deliberately kettled protesters right outside Victoria Parliament's house. Skip to 2940.
Yeah, to watch this manipulative tactic take place. Thankfully, our clever citizens didn't take the bait and rather charging Parliament House, which I'm sure was the police's ulterior motive. It took them 3 minutes to charge through the line of police in order to continue their march. All of the footage being shown on the mainstream media is from those few seconds of chaos, of course. 40 minutes later, the police funneled and kettled the protesters again. Video shows this starting at 1:13. This apparently justifies the claim that police, quote, had no choice but to use non-lethal weapons to defend themselves. No choice, huh? What did they expect would happen when they blocked the path of 5,000 people? The police were clearly looking for a fight. for the optics, no doubt. And it's amazing more people weren't hurt. Ironically, many of the crowd were begging the police to join them in solidarity. I know it's not PC to compare causes, but just over a year ago, police were taking knees with protesters. Looks like those days are long gone. Hope you guys have a great show today, and hope you find the article and footage useful. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Emily. Yes. And I mean, we've seen this tactic before. Of course, the police can create any violent moment that they want, and they do this by what's being called here kettling, but it's, they basically trap people and try to force them in a certain direction, oftentimes that direction being a government building or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if it's the footage she's referring to, but I was seeing some of the footage from the mainstream media of the Aussies. It's just this huge crowd of Aussies finally just getting over it and bum rushing through this crowd of police and police horses and stuff. And I mean, it really shows that they have the numbers. I mean, they just started running. They weren't even beating up police or anything. That's like we saw in a lot of the American protests last year, where police were actually targets. They were just like, yeah, let's just run. They just run right past the police. And then you see these police who, again, are just sort of, unfortunately, they are also just human beings who have a job and are being told what to do. But you can see a moment of panic where they're like, oh, okay, yes, we obviously have no control over this situation. And they just start wildly swinging batons at people running by. And when you actually watch it and deconstruct what's happening, yeah, the police look like they were definitely looking for violence. Everybody else was just running. I mean, nobody was swinging at police. Nobody was throwing things at them. They were just running past them. And the police were sort of like acting like it was a game of t-ball as they ran by.
Yeah.
But I mean, the numbers were staggering.
It reminds me of the whole insurrection, January 6th. It's got that feel to it.
Similar feel, yeah.
Where they're kind of baited into rushing a certain part of the government, and just in general clashing with police or officers or whatever it is. So, yeah, thank you for the report, Emily T, and stay safe out there. Australia seems to be. We'll just have to see what happens. And people always bring up the point that they're disarmed, and that is kind of a big deal when it comes to this type of stuff, because the police do have guns. Like the guy that's on the run, I mean, unless he obtains a firearm illegally, which I suppose is possible, if he comes across any kind of authority with a weapon, he's out of luck, So, prayers for the Australians. And
and look, I'm no revolutionary here, but the analysis shows that the pressure is building, and it looks like some of these Aussies are actually getting a plan together. And if the will of the people should be done, that's the number one thing in a democracy. So there you go. And the leaders are obviously have no regard for the will of the people over there.
Yeah. All right. Moving on here. You want to take the China story there?
Sure.
We got to do I haven't used my China jingle in a while.
Do it.
It might be buried somewhere. Hold on. I got to.
Okay, well, this is going to come from MSN. This is a mirrored article from Bloomberg, and the headline reads, China hits 0 COVID cases with a month of draconian curbs.
Yeah, I couldn't find it in time.
And I'm stalling longer. Chinese news. And it goes like this. It's been just over a month, and China has once again squelched COVID-19, bringing its local cases down to 0. Even with that opening sentence, it has once again squelched COVID-19.
Yeah.
How many times do you have to squelch it? It just keeps coming back. If you squelch it, it's squelched. I don't know about this. Maybe it just keeps leaking from the lab over and over. It was It was more difficult this time, even though the leaders of the world's most populous nation used the same playbook they followed to quell more than 30 previous flare-ups. The arrival of the more infectious Delta variant has raised the stakes as the pathogen refines its ability to escape curbs and flout vaccination. It's unclear how long the victory will last. Again, I mean, what are we at? We're at a 0.4% fatality rate. Oh, good job. You got rid of 0 cases of a close to 0 fatality rate disease. The China model shows what it takes to get COVID under control and raises. Oh, here we go.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's
your
the kicker.
Left of center Bloomberg.
Yeah.
The China model shows what it takes to get COVID under control and raises questions about whether other nations would be willing or able to follow the same draconian steps. The draconian steps. I love that. It's almost as if they don't know the definition of draconian or the history of the draconian things. Just to give everybody a review, let's see the definitions of relating to or characteristic of Draco, or the severe code of laws held to have been framed by him. Second definition, cruel. Draconian means cruel. And Draco, let's see here. I'm trying to find a nice, let's see
like
here.
The dragon, Draco.
Oh, well, you know Draco. I think he was during a northern circumpolar constellation. No, come on. Why don't you look up Draco? Because
Draco was a dragon and one of the main protagonists of Dragonheart.
Oh, stop. Let's find the real Draco. The real Draco. I think it was during like the Spanish Inquisition or something crazy like that. Let's do this. Doop.
Yeah, Draco the Dracon.
Sounds like, oh my gosh, it sounds like Gons needs a lesson in Draco.
Because there's a lot of Dracos.
No, the Draco, where draconian comes from.
Is it the Athenian thing? The first democratic legislator requested by the Athenian citizens to be a lawgiver for the city-state. But the citizens had not expected that Draco would establish laws characterized by their harshness.
Here we go. Draco was an aristocrat who in the 7th century BCE Athens was handed the task of composing a new body of laws. We have no particular clues concerning his life or general biography, and the only certainty is that as an aristocrat and as an educated man, he was in the right place at the right time in order to take his opportunity and legislate during the infancy of the Athenian legal system. Draco composed the city's first written law code with the aim of reducing arbitrary decisions of punishment and blood feuds between parties. Ultimately, though, the laws aided and legitimized the political power of the aristocracy and allowed them to consolidate their control of the land and poor. Famously harsh, the laws were ultimately replaced by Salon. So he was a lawmaker, this Draco guy, and he basically just made a whole bunch of laws like, oh, if you steal a piece of bread, we stab your eyeballs out. It's just in the law. It's just what we do. Okay, if you play your music too loud, we're going to cut off your legs. It's all good. This is just how we keep law and order. And it's notoriously cruel set of written down laws. So when they talk about draconian steps, if you actually use that word in the context of its actual meaning and reference, it's complete authoritarian tyranny, chopping people up type of laws. So as Bloomberg states here, the China model shows that what it takes to get COVID under control, and it's draconian steps. So there you go. If you want to be like China, you just got to be willing to murder your own people. Here's what happens between July 20th, when news emerged of a cluster of infections among airport cleaning staff in the eastern city of Nanjing, and August 23rd, when China returned to COVID-0. Wow, today. They returned to COVID-0 today. repeated mass testing of entire cities. China took testing to an unprecedented level during this go-around. Local authorities checked their populations repeatedly, a dozen times in one city alone, to ensure every last infection was caught. In all, more than 100 million tests were administered in the city of Yangzhou. Some people were infected while waiting in line to get swabbed. Whoopsie daisies. Quarantines also played a larger role. The Chinese capital of Beijing at one point was sealed off from other places with even a single case. It also cut off trains and flights from hotspots around the country, even though the city ultimately posted fewer than 10 infections in the Delta flare-up. Other regions introduced sweeping curbs, from barring entry for people from high-risk areas to asking them to cut short vacations. Most had to remain isolated at home, a rule that was strictly enforced before returning to work and school. More than 200 neighborhoods were labeled high or medium risk, triggering sweeping curbs that disrupted lives and businesses. A peak and a plunge. First, there was an asymptomatic infection at the airport in Nanjing. The next day, there were more than a dozen. By the end of the week in July, daily infections had climbed to nearly 50. Suggesting exponential spread across more than 100 kilometers. In less than 3 weeks, daily cases ballooned to more than 100, scattered across half the nation. Then it ended almost as quickly as it began. The number of infections dropped to single digits the next week amid tightening curbs, then zero. More testing will show if it has been vanquished. The blazing spread of the Delta variant across the country became the biggest test of China's COVID control model. Ultimately, it penetrated nearly 50 cities across 17 provinces and reintroduced the virus to Wuhan, which had been COVID-free for over a year. Still, China eliminated the virus in about a month, roughly the same time it took to quell previous outbreaks, including one at the start of 2021 that totaled some 2,000 cases. In comparison, cities in Australia have undergone repeated lockdowns, keeping more than half of the country's 26 million people confined to their homes without gaining control of the virus. In the U.S., which has never succeeded in containment, relying instead on vaccination, booster shots are slated to roll out next month to shore up protection against the Delta resurgence. China has thus far kept all its infected patients alive. In the viral hotspot of Jiangsu province, critical cases at one point rose to as many as 18, raising fear that the country could see its first COVID fatalities in more than 6 months. Yet many have since shown the signs of disease moderation and recovery. Then it gets into the economics of it there. But yeah, this is really praising the Chinese model of complete totalitarianism, which, if you look at the broad picture of it, COVID, more than anything, has done more to sing the praises of a totalitarian tyranny than anything else, whether it be scientific achievement or yada, yada, yada. It's all about, oh, look at China. It's so wonderful how they can control their people so effectively.
Yeah, and it explains why other governments around the world are doing what they're doing with the lockdowns and trying to get to that elusive zero number. Australia was I think it was New Zealand lockdown after one positive case. It starts to make sense when they're following the China model,
Yeah, well, and you see New Zealand and Australia notoriously having a complicated relationship with China. China doing a great job to sort of infiltrate the government, similar to what it did in the U.S., but even more so in Australia, to sort of a conservative pendulum swing against China and China's actions within the country of Australia. And seems like right now you have Australia opining to be able to control their people in the same way China does.
Yep. So there you go. We found the model, the blueprint, so to speak. And coming from China, I'm not convinced to believe anything that comes out of China. So
no, I mean, yeah, who knows? China could be saying whatever they want, and we would never know.
We have no clue. All right. Well, I'm going to move things around a little bit here. We're going to touch on, let's just go. I took out an article from France. Anti-jab demos continue for a fourth week in a row in France. Okay. But then the U.S., let's see what's going on in the United States. Well, first off, we got the tweet from the FDA, which, of course, this is, I noted how the same people that approved the Pfizer BioNTech vaccines this morning tweeted out a couple days ago. This is from the official U.S. FDA Twitter account. It's not some, employee or something like that. Yeah. From the official account. Tweet, quote, "You are not a horse. You are not a cow. Seriously, y'all, stop it." Mm-hmm. Link to article, why you should not use ivermectin to treat or prevent COVID-19.
Right.
And actually, Sigurd the Beast had a pretty funny comment. He was like, "How dare you, FDA? I'm trans species. I identify as a cow. Are you to say that I am not a cow, FDA? You're being unwoke."
Yeah, they should be canceled from Twitter for saying such hateful things.
But this really proves that the FDA does not have the best interest of the public in mind when it comes to their health. It's all about the dollars. It's all about the big pharma money trickling in. Ivermectin, too cheap, can't make any money off of it, so it's bad for you.
Well, and again, it's not even, let's just take a level-headed look at this. Ivermectin is not just for cows and horses.
Yeah.
There's something like a half a dozen human ailments that the cure is ivermectin. And, of course, there's some interesting studies on ivermectin for COVID, but aside from COVID, ivermectin was like a miracle drug that saved millions of people from all sorts of different diseases. It is not just for cows and horses, and for them to present it this way is pure propaganda.
Yeah, especially, seriously, y'all, stop it.
Yeah, right, which is just sort of insulting.
It's like, what? Who is this? Some new PR person coming in? Like, oh, we need to speak to the, to the crowd differently. We gotta, where's the professionalism? Anyway, not that I expect professionalism out of the FDA per se, but
no, I mean, and of course, this post coming at the same time as the quote unquote FDA approval for whatever it's called, Comirnaty or something.
Comirnaty. Just remember, Comi, mRNA, and Illuminati. Put it all together, Comirnaty.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, whatever the case may be. I mean, it's kind of, it's just obvious propaganda. That's all it is. It's insulting. It's lies. And the timing of it is obviously meant to propagate the profits for the vaccine companies. It's just sort of how it is. And, the funding for the FDA, unfortunately, you follow the money. Most of it comes from pharmaceutical companies anyways. It's like, we're just not buying it, man.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They're staying loyal to the hand that feeds.
Yeah.
And here's a story from Yahoo News. Alabama doctor says he won't treat unvaccinated patients. So we're kind of looking at the U.S. here and the temperament in the states. A doctor says he will soon refuse to treat unvaccinated patients in Alabama, where low vaccination rates and the highly transmissible Delta variant are overwhelming hospitals. Dr. Jason Valentine, a physician at Diagnostic and Medical Clinic Infirmary Health and Mobile, recently posted a photo on his Facebook page showing him next to a sign that says, quote, "Effective October 1st, 2021, Dr. Valentine will no longer see patients that are not vaccinated against COVID-19. NBC News has not verified the authenticity of the post, which is now private. Neither Valentine nor representatives at the medical clinic where he works could be reached for comment. After sharing the picture on social media, Valentine wrote that 3 unvaccinated patients asked where they could get a vaccine, according to the Birmingham News. Oh, look at that. He's doing his good work. Quote, if they asked why, I told them COVID is a miserable way to die, and I can't watch them die like that, Valentine wrote. Valentine...
Yeah, which that... I saw so many outlets quoting that, like, oh, it's a miserable way to die, and I don't want to watch you die, which sounds like this very noble...
Virtuous thing, yeah.
Virtuous thing. But what he's literally saying is like, no, go die somewhere else. I don't want to be in... I don't even want to... I don't want it around me.
Valentine planned on mailing a letter to his patients about his decision. He posted the letter online, the newspaper reported. Quote, we do not yet have any great treatment for severe disease, but we do have great prevention with vaccines. Unfortunately, many have declined to take the vaccine, and some end up severely ill or dead. I cannot and will not force anyone to take the vaccine, but I also cannot continue to watch my patients suffer and die from an eminently preventable disease, the letter stated.
Yeah. Sigra makes a good point. Sir Sigra the Beast in the chat says, well, shoot, I hope he doesn't have any smokers or obese people or people with terminal cancer.
Yeah, definitely selective.
Other preventable choices.
Therefore, as of October 1st, 2021, I will no longer see patients that have not been vaccinated against COVID-19. If you wish to keep me as your physician, documentation of your vaccination will suffice. If you wish to choose another physician, we will be happy to transfer your records.
You should be happy to do it because it's the law. We'd be happy to do what the law requires us to do.
You know, it's funny. I
bet a good guy.
I bet he lost so many patients.
I hope so.
As the Delta variant of the coronavirus increases infection rates across the country, Alabama has been pummeled with new cases and that are burdening hospitals. The state ran out of intensive care beds this week, according to NBC affiliate WSFA of Montgomery. Quote, we've never been here before, said Dr. Don Williamson, Alabama Hospital Association president. The news station reported, quote, we are in truly now in uncharted territory in terms of our ICU bed capacity. Okay. Williamson said ICU capacity levels have been reached across the state. Some patients were treated on gurneys in hallways or in emergency rooms, Williams said. WFSA reported, quote, there were 1,568 patients today who need ICU beds, and there are only 1,557 designated ICU beds in the state today, Williamson said. In the Montgomery area, we have 8 more patients who are getting ICU care than we have designated ICU beds here. Okay. Valentine is not the only physician in Alabama to post on social media about the importance of vaccinations. Blah, blah, blah. Another person with the vaccine. Or pushing vaccines. Stating at the end here, quote, but it's time to start blaming the unvaccinated folks.
There it is.
Not the regular folks. It's the unvaccinated folks that are letting us down.
What's the... they're letting us down by getting sick. What's the date on this article?
August 20th.
This guy's late. That storyline's a month old.
Well, that's
blaming the unvaccinated. That they already ran that story and it didn't work.
Well, we mentioned this in the last episode, but a lot of doctors, especially in the U.S., the narratives they're like a month or two behind, and they're now jumping on board. It's really fascinating to watch.
Right.
Let's see. Oh, yeah, this leads us to, we're staying in Alabama here for a moment. And just as a side note here, supporters at Alabama rally boo Trump after he tells them to get vaccinated. This is The Hill.
Yeah, I saw this. So I'm glad you brought this clip because this was everywhere. Every mainstream place was showing it. CNN, MSNBC, everybody showed this clip. Trump gets booed for suggesting vaccinations. First of all, it's his vaccination. Second of all, he's been pro-vax ever since the beginning. And you keep blaming him for being anti-vax. So what do you want from him? And they showed this clip. Yeah. Why don't you roll that clip?
You know what? I believe totally in your freedoms. I do. You got to do what you have to do. But I recommend take the vaccines. I did it. It's good. Take the vaccines. But no, that's okay. That's all right. You got your freedoms. But I happen to take the vaccine. If it doesn't work, you'll be the first to know, okay? I'll call up Alabama and say, hey, you know what? But it is working. But you do have your freedoms. You have to maintain that. You have to maintain that. And you got to get your kids back to school.
That was barely a boo.
Yeah, it wasn't like a roaring boo.
As far as people getting booed, it was like half the people were cheering and half of them were booing. That was barely a boo.
Yeah, it wasn't really. But he did address it. I thought he did a pretty smooth kind of, he's like, oh, that's okay.
Hey, you do what you want.
I got the vaccine.
I got it. You'll know soon if it doesn't work. Whatever. He did a good job of handling it. Of course, he's a pro-vax guy. It's his vaccine. He's in the group that, he's part of the construct that pushes the vaccine. We all know this. We've known this forever. But, at least he's not like blaming people and stuff. And that boo, that was barely a boo. I couldn't believe it. After I read all the headlines, Trump gets booed by his own people. And it's like, okay, there's a couple people booing, but there's simultaneously people cheering. That was a tough one to do.
The clip that I wanted to play, but I guess we could have bleeped it, but it was a fantastic line from Trump. Everything woke turns to poop, but he didn't use poop.
Yeah, yeah.
Very good. Good job, Trump. I guess he's done like a lot of rallies.
Yeah, he's been a busy boy.
Over 90. It's a lot. We don't hear about much of it.
He's moving around, yeah. All right. Well, speaking of all of this, let's get this article from Fox News here. The headline, Mississippi orders coronavirus-infected individuals to isolate at home or face up to 5 years in prison. Dun, dun, dun. The Mississippi State Department of Health issued an alert Friday ordering any coronavirus positive individuals to isolate for at least 10 days or face up to 5-year prison sentence and a fine of up to $5,000. The isolation order comes amid surging COVID-19 cases in Mississippi as the 7-day average for new cases in the state reached 4,316 on Friday, nearly double the highest point during the second wave in January, according to Johns Hopkins University data. Friday's order, issued by the state health officer, Dr. Thomas Dobbs, says that anyone, quote, infected with COVID-19 must remain in the home or other appropriate residential location for 10 days from onset of illness. This is an example of government workers that I did not know had such executive powers. This is the state health officer, Dr. Thomas Dobbs, issuing this order that could send people to jail to prison for 5 years. I didn't know as a state health officer, you can just make laws to send people to prison just by making an order. That's very interesting. It's kind of reminiscent of some of the powers that the governors were sort of taking that was a little bit outside of their job description. Failure to obey the isolation order could result in a fine of $500 or imprisonment for 6 months. However, since COVID-19 is a life-threatening disease, those potential punishments go up to $5,000 or 5 years in prison or both. Dr. Dobbs wrote Friday, Mississippi, this is weird, as a doctor gets to send people to prison. Mississippi hospitals currently have more COVID-19 patients than any other time in the pandemic, as 1,660 patients were hospitalized, 457 were in the ICU, and 324 were on ventilators on Wednesday, according to state health data. I wonder how many were vaccinated. Oh, let's find out. The University of Mississippi Medical Center, the state's only level 1 trauma center, announced Friday that it will require all staff and students to be vaccinated. It's an about face for the hospital, which previously said employees and students could skip being vaccinated if they wore N95 masks. Quote, COVID-19 in Mississippi is a raging wildfire, but not everyone is helping throw water on the flames in their own backyard. Dr. Alan Jones, University of Mississippi Medical Center's Associate Vice Chancellor for Clinical Affairs, wrote in a letter Friday to staff and students, quote, we, as an institution and as the workforce for the state's leading health system, need to be a leader in this fight. Mississippi currently has one of the lowest vaccination rates in the nation, as just 45.1% of the population have received at least one dose, and 36.8% are fully vaccinated, according to the CDC. So there you go. You go to jail. Sounds like Australia around there, over there in Mississippi.
The sentiment that I saw in reaction to this was, look, even a conservative state like Mississippi moving in the direction of, doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm. Even a conservative.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Again, going back to the Trump thing, it's like they've spent so long politicizing the vaccine thing while saying, oh, don't politicize the vaccine. Oh, but those dang Republicans keep politicizing the vaccine. So, yeah, it's just furthering the partisan divide. Along the same lines, and I'll let you finish out with that last one there. NBCnews.com headline, University of Virginia disenrolls more than 200 students who didn't meet vaccine mandate. The University of Virginia has disenrolled students who didn't comply with the school's COVID-19 vaccine requirement as the institution gets ready to welcome back undergraduate students for in-person classes on Monday, the school said Saturday. At least 238 students, including 49 students who were enrolled in fall courses, were disenrolled this week after, quote, receiving multiple reminders via email, text, phone calls to parents that they were out of compliance. University spokesperson Brian Coy told the Virginian Pilot on Friday. That may mean that a good number of the remaining students may not have been planning to return to the university this fall at all, Coy said. The majority of the students returning to campus are vaccinated. Majority. More than 96% of students have already received the COVID-19 vaccine, according to a news release from the university. However, the school made some exceptions based on certain religious or medical reasons. The university granted 335 permanent vaccine waivers for students with... 335. Yeah, with religious or medical exemptions. The school also granted 184 temporary vaccine waivers for students who face difficulties getting vaccinated at home, but intend to get the vaccine once on campus. Most university employees and faculty members are also vaccinated. 93% of all university employees, 96% of classroom faculty are fully vaccinated. Blah, blah, blah. Exempt students and staff members must be tested weekly and wear a mask in indoor and outdoor common spaces. Students. Yeah.
I was going to say that's not a giant sign.
Red letter.
Yeah, like on the back of your shirt saying unvaccinated. Well, it's good for your social life in college there.
Yeah, well, technically everybody should be wearing a mask according to the government.
Yeah.
So, it's weird for them to pick out the unvaccinated people, of course, especially because the vaccinated people spread it just as much as unvaccinated people.
Put those blue masks on that only works 10% of the time.
Yeah, they're not interested in the actual science. They're just interested in shaming those who don't get the vaccine. Yeah, so there you go. 200 students who didn't meet vaccine mandate kicked out of college. This is pretty brutal.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I expect to see more of this type of behavior from institutions.
Why not have a non-in-person option? You didn't take the time during the year of lockdowns to put in the infrastructure to do online classes. They just spent all that time and money, putting in video cameras and investing in online resources for school, and then you're just dumping them. It's interesting.
Yeah. I wonder because, I don't know. That's a good observation there. We should know more about the remote option, I guess, because they're opening back up. No possibility.
Maybe they're afraid too many people would take the remote option because nobody wants to go into school.
True.
If you could do a remote option, why wouldn't you? At least at college age, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, they need the money. Universities need the money. All right. Well, ultimately, what is it leading to? Well, this could be why they want everybody in person. Because in Italy, there's a story here from thesun.com. And the headline here, Code Breaker, Italian student, 22 years old, who tattooed COVID certificate barcode on arm, becomes TikTok star after scanning into McDonald's.
Whoa, TikTok star.
The number of things there, the 22... the COVID tattoo or certificate tattoo on the arm, TikTok, and skinning into McDonald's. Just all the things. Andrea Colonetta, 22, said he hadn't given much thought in advance before getting his latest tattoo. That's part of the issue there, isn't it? You don't think too much. But decided on the topical and practical choice after talking with tattoo artist Gabrielle Pellerone. The underside of Colonet's left arm now bears a matrix of black squares from a QR code of his official Italian Green Pass. He said he had received both doses of the coronavirus vaccine. The pass gives proof of coronavirus status that you are vaccinated, have recovered from the virus, or tested negative in the last 48 hours. It has been required in Italy since August 6th to get into cinemas, museums, and indoor sports venues, or to eat indoors at restaurants. Colonetta from the southern city of Reggio Calabria told Corriere della Calabria newspaper, quote, "It's certainly something original. I'd like to be different."
Wow. Oh, he's so unique and different. Wow.
Although he's received lots of attention on Instagram and TikTok, his parents were baffled. But he said his genius ink was down... What? He said his genius ink was down to them. I don't know what that means. He said, quote, "Certainly they encouraged me to be less impulsive and to better reflect on things." But his new barcode works, he said. A video posted on TikTok by Pellerone shows a masked Colonetta entering McDonald's and lifting his arm to take a photo of his tattoo. A security guard at the entrance is seen scanning Colonetta's photo before the video ends abruptly, leaving it unclear whether Colonetta ultimately got his Big Mac or not.
Oh, no. Wow. What is it? TikTok star.
TikTok star. And you can see the video. It plays some ridiculous music, so I'm not going to really play the audio. But, yeah, he's got his tattoo on his arm. He's walking in. He puts a phone up to the tattoo, and boom. It pulls up the QR code. You got another phone scanning the QR code, and then he
scans his own tattoo.
Yeah.
He doesn't even get it scanned by someone else. Yeah, so just having the QR code on his phone wasn't enough. He has to scan his own tattoo with his own arm.
Well, what's ridiculous is that he scans his own arm and then pulls up the website with another QR code on it, and then the McDonald's guy scans his phone.
So it's pointless.
It's completely pointless. It's just like, funny. Wow, can we... I mean, it would make more sense if the McDonald's guy was like, "Hey, let me scan your arm."
Yeah, no, it's not even it's so basic. I mean, when you boil it down, QR codes are just visual links is all they are. So, you know, he has a link on his phone to the link of his QR code for his vaccine. I don't get it. Why didn't he just get the actual vaccine one on his arm? That is so weird.
He obviously didn't think through. He admitted that he did not think much about it. So he's
no kidding.
No kidding. Well, but we're wrapping it up with this one here because I think with the university stuff and in person, and really forcing the vaccine, this is partly why they want everybody vaccinated. It's not so much for your health, and it may not even be so much for the technology involved, because is it deadly? Well, we'll find out, I guess, in a few years how it affects our immune systems or our health in the long run.
Long-term thing.
But in the short term, they want everybody identifiable and scannable in some way. Maybe not a tattoo like this, but very much part of the beast system, if you will. They want to have the ability to scan you, to measure your health, and see if you're allowed to participate in society. And that's way more egregious. Well, I guess just as egregious as the technology and the mRNA itself. But in terms of the social impact worldwide, that is way more intense, and it comes at a time when the technology is readily available to us. All the cell phones are in the hands of I don't know, is it a majority? It's got to be a majority of the people in the world now, right? They have smartphones.
Yeah.
So interesting that is where we are now. It's not, we can't just have any kind of autonomy with this technology. We must use it to identify ourselves and prove our vaccine status to get into McDonald's.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous.
Well, there you go. And but not here, folks. No QR codes needed.
I mean, we have QR codes, but you don't need it. We're not asking you to tattoo it onto yourself. The CanaryCry.Party QR code, as well as PayPal, and we also have some of the crypto addresses as QR codes. But again, if you
settle down, it's okay. QR codes are fine. I'm trying to get us into the break. QR codes, like I said, just visual links. There's nothing special about them. But all right. So anywho, there goes my smooth transition into the break.
It's break time. Come on, take a break.
Okay, folks, we're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere, because after the break, we got a politics section, and we're going to be checking in on some developments in the transhumanist space as well. But before we get into all that good stuff, we want to take a moment and thank some of our producers. And that's right, I said producers, because we're on the value for value model, baby. You may have, or you may not have noticed that we have no advertisements, no affiliate codes, not trying to sell you anything. We are simply putting out the product. We do it 3 times a week, and we try our very hardest at it. And if you get any value out of what we do here on the show, you have the opportunity. Some have called it a responsibility, but that'll be up to you as you make your way through the worldwide future here to support the show, to keep the show going. And those who do decide that they get value out of what they do and that they want to put value back in, they become producers of the show. Now, Gons, I do want to say this was a bit of a spooky show starting out today. Producership, we have got a lot of great producers who come in often on several shows a week. Some people are on long streaks of supporting the show, but it takes a team. Takes a team to keep this show going, and especially when it comes to financially keeping the wheels rolling here. And thankfully, I put the call out in the pre-show, and we had some producers heed the call, and I think we're going to make our budget for today's show, Gon. So very thankful to all the producers, but especially those who came in at the last minute to make sure that we can keep doing what we're doing here. And Here's the thing, folks. No advertisements. That's the main thing. And you may think, oh, well, what's an advertisement? It's just where I zone out for 30 seconds. Well, that's what they want. They want you to zone out for 30 seconds so you can have the operating system installed subconsciously. It's not about, are you better than the advertisement? Is the advertisement interesting or not? No. Advertising is a problem because you may think you're getting something for free, but it's not free because you're paying in your trust, you're paying in your attention, in your consciousness. You are literally letting them write upon your inscribe upon your subconscious whatever marketing message they want to do. And it goes even deeper than that. You know, Google, Facebook, all those darned places, they make 99% of their profits from advertising. And do you really want your news analysis podcasters in the same business as Google or Facebook? It just doesn't sound right. It doesn't feel right. And, you know, when you start taking advertisers' money, you are then obligated to keep the advertiser happy, whether it's talking about certain things or not talking about other things. It just becomes problematic. And it presents a challenge and an opportunity. The challenge is Gons for us, you know, most people out there, including many of our producers, you know, they're living paycheck to paycheck, a 2-week to 2-week thing. And just to give people kind of a peek behind the curtain here, we also do that, but it's not on a 2-week to 2-week thing. It's literally 2 days. It's every we are living on a show to show paycheck.
Living on the edge.
Living on the edge, baby. And so we totally understand the situation that our week to week people are in. We are on an every other day. Are we going to be able to make it to the next show situation? And so we're very grateful to everybody who finds value in the show and wants to put value back in. Anything you want to say about the value for value model?
Well, I think you summarized it well. One of the things that I've been looking into a little bit more is if there's anything in the Bible that speaks about advertising, and it's hard to find. There are some websites that have listed peripheral type of scripture that has a reference to advertisement. And, a couple of them do sort of appeal to the value for value model in a sense. So I wanted to highlight that. This first one... let's see. Oh, yeah. Acts 20, verse 35. In all things I have shown you that by working hard in this way, we must help the weak and remember the words of our Lord Jesus, how he himself said, it is more blessed to give than to receive. And the value for value model is based on giving. We're giving our time. We're giving our research, our opinions on everything, the content itself. We're just giving it out there for everybody to consume. And then that is reciprocated by the producers if they choose to. They don't have to, which is different from advertising where we just, with advertising, they just entice you to give money to in exchange for a product or service or whatever.
Well, they want to guide your spending.
Right.
That's what it is. They're trying to manipulate you into spending money on either their product that you're going to buy anyways versus another brand or another company, or influence your spending into buying stuff that you don't even need or you don't even want.
Yeah. And to that, Mark 10:19 talks about all these different things, these commandments that you're not, do not murder, do not commit adultery, do not steal, do not bear false witness.
Ooh.
That one is big because I think a lot of advertising is bearing false witness. It's kind of a misleading of the facts of what you need and all these things. And again, enticing people to spend their money where they don't really need to or don't have to.
Well, and for those who have been in advertising or done any advertising, the first rule of advertising is you appeal to emotions. That's the first thing you do. If you're trying to sell Coke, you don't say, "Oh, it's fizzly and delicious." You say, "It's happiness in a bottle." If you're,
Yeah, exactly.
this, like it's very manipulative from its very core.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to put something more together, maybe an article or a video or something that's specific to advertising and how the scriptures lay out the principles of not just advertising per se, but just the value of, to apply it to something like a podcast here, where we throw the content out there for free, and we're just wanting to help people navigate through all the news and all the craziness happening in the world. And, we're not selling any time. We're just giving it out. And if you feel called to support us, then please do.
Well, it's a simple thing. If you want it to continue going, you put in some value. I mean, that's just kind of how it works. And that's the nervousness of doing our, every other day show is, the show will keep going as long as producers keep producing. When the producers stop producing, we'll get the message. Oh, nobody's getting any value out of it anymore. Okay, I guess we need to find something else. So anyways, there you go. There's a few different ways to become a producer of the show. First of all, you can head on over to patreon.com/CCNT. That's patreon.com/CCNT. And as of last checking, Gons, I did not see any new Patreon producers coming in. I'm just logging in again to see if anybody came in at the last second. No, I don't think so. So there we go. That'll be a short segment there. Nobody coming in on Patreon. But, if you don't like Patreon, that's okay. Don't worry. That's why we have CanaryCry.com/support.
CanaryCry.com/support.
There we go. CanaryCry.radio.com/support. It's got all sorts of great stuff. You can read about the value for value model. You can read about the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames. You can support the show with your cryptocurrency. Or if you want to support the show, if you want to commit to supporting the show on a monthly basis, you can come in and become a sustaining producer of the show. You'll come in every month. You've committed to keeping the show going, and we appreciate all of those who do that. But if commitment is not your thing, you can make a one-time producership in any amount that you'd like. Gons, who do we have coming in over there?
Well, we have a good amount of people here today. And first, we want to thank all the recurring producers and all the knights and dames out there. We appreciate you. We're going to start with Brandon C.
That's right. Well, and Brandon C is at the beginning of the show. We had nobody hit the executive or associate executive producership level. But Brandon C, thank you so much for coming in. He sent a note here. Said, "God bless you guys. I don't need any recognition or anything. Just wanted to give. I know times are getting hard, and Brandon, we know you don't need it, but we wanted to give it to you anyways, buddy, because we needed we needed it, and you made it happen, buddy. So you're our executive producer for episode 379.
Where'd you find this?
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, buddy.
We need more of that vibe.
Mm-hmm.
the new hip hop. All right.
So I want to mention a couple things because we haven't done it in the past. And I don't know if we've talked about executive or associate executive producer levels.
We've mentioned it, but it's
officially recently, but we had a question in the chat. So maybe we should lay it out real quick.
Yeah, do that. And we should probably put that in the CanaryCry.radio.com/support. Yeah.
Yeah. So with our executive and associate executive producer levels, first of all, throughout all of our producers, we keep as much as we possibly can anonymous unless signaled by the producer. So if you want us to read the amount that you produced with, it's simple. You just make it something notable. Like a lot of people choose to put 33 in there somewhere, and so they become one of our Illuminati handlers, things like that. 1111, 1234, 777, you make it something funky. Then we read the amount. If you don't want the amount read, you just choose a flat amount, something nice and round, and that tells us, okay, they don't want us to read the amount for them. So that's number one policy. Number two, with the executive and associate executive producers, those are positions that are reserved for very generous producers who produce in the amount of $100 or more during the show. And with the associate executive, anybody who gives over $100 in a single show is an associate executive producer, and whoever gives the top amount out of those is the executive producer for the show. So it can come in a couple different ways. If there's somebody who gives 100 and somebody who gives 110 or something, the 110 will have the executive producership, and the 100 will be the associate executive producer. And they're very valuable and wonderful people who keep the show going. Other than that, Gons, was there anything else to point out?
I think you did it.
That's our basic protocol right now. Not to say that it will stay that way forever. If somebody has a better suggestion, we are always open to hearing from our producers about a better system. But so far, the system has worked pretty well.
Yep. All right, let's continue thanking some people. Next up, we have producer Volodymyr.
Vladimir S. comes in with $33.33, one of our Illuminati handlers for the day. And a note says, "Thank you for your great work. Sorry for being gone for a while. I was exploring U.S. abandoned territories." What are U.S. abandoned territories?
Afghanistan?
Afghanistan, yeah. Vladimir, get out of there.
Vladimir's in Afghanistan picking up the pieces.
Do we need to get Vladimir an evacuation from Afghanistan?
$2,000. Well, we'll do 1,800. Biden's it's going to cost you $2,000. We'll do it for 18.
Yeah, we'll give you a great deal on an evacuation, Vladimir. Thank you very much. Glad to see you back, Vladimir.
And that's what is that? Is that a fanny pack full of threes, technically?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Good job there, Volodymyr. All right. Next up, Patricia B.
Patricia B, thank you so much for your producership.
And I think she came in after the call as well.
I believe so.
Yep. Next up, producer Emily T.
Emily T came in. Thank you for that email. And yes, Emily T came in with $23.
Yep. That's the same Emily T from Down Under giving us a report from Australia. And we read her email during that segment there. So thank you very much, Emily T. Keep on.
Aussie report.
Yep.
Aussie report.
All right. Next up, Cool Runningsman.
Cool Runningsman is back in the house. Comes in with $13.33.
Oh yeah, feel the rhythm.
Handlers.
Yeah,
Yes.
feel the rhyme.
Been a long-time listener, but also a long-time money changer. Uh-oh. I was on the community Zoom call and could not find anyone else to call out. So if you're out there and are not a producer, stop being a tax collector. It'll feel good. There's some, there we go. We're trying to, the developing culture of producership. We've got money changers and tax collectors. I think those are his code words for non-producers.
All right. That's not a bad way to.
That's interesting. We'll see if it catches on.
Yeah.
You can call out the tax collectors or the money changers.
The money changers, yeah.
Like Jesus flipping tables in the temple,
Yeah.
That's if you have a friend who also listens to the show, you become a producer, you can call them out as a money changer. I mean, that's balls in their court to become a producer.
Yeah, not a bad idea. All right.
Thank you very much, Cool Runningsman.
Thank you, Cool Runningsman. Next up, we have Aaron J.
Aaron J. coming in with 1111. Thank you very much, Aaron J.
Is that a duffel bag full of... No, it's... A wallet full of ones? What is
Gons, why don't you leave that to me, okay?
So what is it? You didn't say.
It's nothing. It's just 1111.
Oh, okay.
It's 2 pairs of chopsticks.
Oh, now you got to get all racist with me.
It's not racist. It's racial.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right, let's keep going.
I'll hand you a fork when you come eat at my house. I'll say, look at this white hog.
Here you go, white hog. Use your pokey stick.
But you're going to be like, hey, but we're eating soup. Exactly. All right. Next up, we have Juan A.
Juan A is on a streak.
Oops.
They're on a streak.
That's right. Juan A has been producing for 8 episodes in a row here. He comes in with 1111. And a note, the math kind of started to scare me. LOL. Week 1, he gave 111, 222, 333. Was 666. Okay, he's got a lot of math here, so you got to follow through. Yeah. Oh yeah, because there's 3 episodes in a row. 111, 222, 333 equals 666. Week 2, he gave 444, 555, 666, which came out to be 1665. Okay, 1 and 5 equals 6. So, okay, I see. 1665. The 1 and the 5 equals 6. That was 666 again. Week 3, 777, 888, 999 was 2664. Plus you add the 2 and the 4 equals 6. Oh my gosh. That's another 666. Week 4, he gave 1010, 1111. And if he continues and hits the 1212, it'll equal 3333. Ugh, he says. But the show must go on. I'm not a new ager either. Okay. You know what? It's just math, Juan A, and we appreciate your support. That is interesting.
It is interesting.
He was doing a lot of math here.
Well, just keeping in mind that what did you do there?
I don't know.
Can you not
It
do
turned
that?
into a list. It just happened. Somehow I turned your producership note into a checkbox list.
Oh, gosh.
Juan A, I'm sorry. I don't even know how to make it stop.
I'm trying to help you.
Ignore it.
What I was going to say was that if you read the scriptures there in Revelation 13, it says it's the number of a man. So unless you're the Antichrist, Juan A, which I do not believe you are, you're good. You're fine.
Let's go on record, everybody. We are on Basil and Gons on Canary Cry News Talk are officially saying we do not think Juan A is the Antichrist.
Hallelujah.
There's some confusion in the chat. I'm just going to say it real quick. It's CanaryCryRadio.com/support. That's where you become a producer. There's some people confused about the link. That's
technically, I think there is a support tab on the Canary Cry News Talk website too.
I know, but that's not the problem. I'm just helping somebody out here.
All right.
Okay, who's next?
Next up, we have JC.
Okay, and we've got to make good for JC here. Last episode, he came in a little bit late, but he made up for it for last episode. In this episode, we've got a few producerships on the books, but JC is on a streak.
They're on a streak.
And I believe this makes it 4 episodes in a row. We did miss his 3rd episode in a row, which let's give him. He's heating up.
Oh, he's heating up. Okay.
He's heating up.
That's right. And he came in with a pocket full of 7s and then 823. And he forgot a note, so he had to send in another 123. But the note forgot my note on the last donation. Today is my 28th birthday. And what a better way to celebrate than to produce my favorite Christian worldview ministry, JC. Okay, we got to put JC on the birthday list.
It's my birthday. It's my birthday.
Happy birthday to
There we go. You're back on track, JC, and happy birthday to you.
Yeah, happy birthday. You're almost at that 30.
28, baby. It's a good age.
Yeah, 30 hurts.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on the other side of that slide there. All right. Happy birthday, JC. Thank you very much for your producership and the kind note. Next up, Sir Casey, the Shield Knight.
Sir Casey, the Shield Knight, continue his streak.
They're on a streak.
48 episodes in a row. He's doing it, folks. He might go all the way.
Sure. Is there a thing I'm supposed to play there?
No.
Okay. I was going to say Sir Casey, the Shield Knight, is basically keeping tabs of how long we've been doing this streak thing. I can't believe we're almost at 50 episodes doing this streak thing. It feels like we just started this, but it's like, what, 1/7 of Canary Cry News Talk episodes?
I think there was a moment where he lost it for a second. I could be wrong. But yes, it's crazy. We've been streaking for at least 48 episodes. He's a scribe, Sir Casey.
Yes.
He's a canary in the coal mine of how long we've been streaking.
He keeps going deeper into the mine. All right. Thank you, Sir Casey, the Shield Knight, for your continued streak. Next up, Malik W.
Malik W. I'm checking back. Oh, yeah, Malik's on a streak.
Oh.
That's right. At least 2 episodes in a row. Double checking. Oh, we may have, you know what? Malik comes in during the thing. He's on a 3-episode streak. Malik's heating up.
He's heating up.
There we go. Thank you very much, Malik.
Thank you, Malik. Get back on that. Next up, Scott K.
K is also on a streak. Scott K is on a 41-episode streak, comes in with a pocket full of 7s, and he sends a note. It just says, almost to 42. That's right. Next episode will be 42 for you, Scott K.
Whew.
Thank you very much.
Do we have a 42 official thing?
Yeah, of course we do.
Oh, that's right. We have this thing here. Okay, cool. All right. Scott K. Looking forward to the next one for you. Next one, Doty the Coyote.
That's right. Doty the Coyote coming in with, what is this? Was that a number? No, I was thinking of a different number. Okay. Thank you very much. Is he comes in with $4.50. I thought that was one of our special things,
Maybe.
But I forget.
Yeah, we forget. We can't keep up with our own thing now.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Doty the Coyote. Good to see you. Next up, we have Adam42.
Adam42 comes in with $4.42. And it feels like Adam, no, I don't have him on the list.
I don't think he's on a streak, but
thank you very much, Adam.
He has a note. He says, yo. Nice note.
Yo to you, Adam42.
Next up, Veronica D.
Veronica D is on a streak.
Yeah, she's on a streak.
15 episodes in a row, which means Veronica D has hit Rocket Man level.
Rocket Man? Okay, hold on.
Dude.
Okay, here we go.
Rocket Man, burning out his fuse out here alone.
Don't dude me.
How could you possibly act surprised? We've done that one many times.
I know. I got confused because I have the old Rocket Man still here.
Uh-huh.
This one. That one.
Yeah.
The one you didn't like because there's rocket sound that really sparkly sounding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I almost hit that, and I was looking for the Shatner Rocket Man.
All right. You made the noise that you make when you are surprised that something exists.
Oh, no.
But thank you, Veronica D, coming in for $3.79 to show number producership. And a note, hey, y'all, just a reminder that the Hawaii meetup will be on Saturday, September 11th. That's right. We'll go through the meetups at the end of the segment. Thank you very much, Veronica.
Next up, producer Kim W.
Kim W is on a streak.
Yeah, she's on a streak.
That's right. She's coming in for 32 episodes in a row, almost 33. She comes in with a pocket full of 3s. And I see Kim's note is not in here.
I don't think it came in. It usually comes in on the Proton Mail, but I did not see it there.
Oh, interesting.
It's been a couple episodes, too.
Well, I thought I remember seeing something, so let me just double check.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. Maybe I saw an old one. Yeah, no, I'm not seeing it. Interesting. Where did I see her name? Well, anywho, thank you very much, Kimberly W. If you are sending notes, for some reason we have stopped receiving them. But either way, thank you very much for your support.
Yep. Next up, Big Tank.
Big Tank.
This is Grover Ducky. What's your 1020? Over.
Check in.
We got us a convoy. Over.
That's right. And Big Tank is on a streak here. 2 episodes in a row, coming in with a pocket full of 3s. And a note, hey, y'all, job interview went very well. Keep up the prayers. I make it to a 2nd interview. Much love, Big Tank. Okay, very good. Glad to hear that, Big Tank. And good luck with round 2, buddy.
Next up. Oh, by the way, Big Tank. We might need you later. Based on what's happening in Australia. If that goes down here, I'm calling Big Tank.
We'll need Big Tank. We'll have to hire Big Tank as our private Canary Cry trucker. Yeah.
All right, next up, Brant W.
Brant W's on a streak. Been supporting the show 3 episodes in a row, which means Brant is heating up.
He's heating up.
With a pocket full of 3s and a note, may I please request the Streakers jingle that has Lil Jon getting hyphy. Pronounced hyphy. I know how to pronounce hyphy, Brant. Love to all the Streakers, producers, knights, dames, and the whole Canarium. Is there a Streakers jingle that has Lil Jon?
I think we had it somewhere. I don't know. It's not in my normal set of things
interesting.
Here.
I don't remember that.
Have a winning streak of anything like this duration yet.
No, that's not it.
Oh, no. Well, we might not be able to deliver on this today, Brant, but you have sent us on a wild goose chase for an elusive streaking jingle that has Lil Jon getting hyphy. I cannot remember that at all. But there are so few things that I can remember, so Brant's probably right.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Brant.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry we can't deliver. Try again.
Next up, Aubrey W.
Aubrey W. comes in with a pocket full of 3s and a note. While eating today, a man came up to me and 3 friends with no context rambling. The biggest day of my life is coming up, the anniversary of 9/11. My presentation is 33 minutes, and at 3 minutes, 30 seconds, he mentioned 33, 3, 9/11, COVID police multiple times. What do you think? Is there a video attached to this?
I don't know.
Sounds like somebody randomly came up and rambled at Aubrey talking about a whole bunch of 9/11 stuff. Huh. I have no idea, Aubrey. Maybe you were meant to send a message.
Or maybe they're sending a message to her.
That's what, yeah. Well, that's what I mean. A message to her so she can message. I'm going to search for Aubrey's note real quick.
I found the note. I don't see any links or anything.
Nothing,
in there.
huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Could have just been a crazy guy. Could have been somebody trying to send you on a secret mission. Who knows? But thank you for your pocket full of 3s.
Or maybe
aliens.
Maybe here's just telling you to support the show and you deliver.
All right. Thank you very much, Aubrey. Stay watchful. Next up, Gail M.
Gail M is still on a streak.
Yeah, she's on a streak.
Thank you very much, Gail. 17 episodes in a row, comes in with 316 and a note. Hey, Bonzo Gazzlers, thank God for you every day. XXXXXXXO. Thank you very much, Gail. We thank God for you as well.
Thank you, Gail. Next up, we have Dalton H.
Dalton H. He's still he's going on the Fibonacci sequence here. We're up to $2.33 and a note. I fell asleep and lost my streak, but it was going to happen sooner or later. I'll probably switch to a weekly producership and eventually monthly. Thanks, you guys, for what y'all do. Okay, thank you very much, Dalton H.
Thank you, Dalton.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's interesting with the Fibonacci there. It's not only going to exponentially bring that number up, but also the distance in between is also spreading. It's like this cone of existence.
He's Fibonacci-ing his frequency
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
You know, once you get up over $2, you got to spread it out.
It starts to, yeah.
No, gone are the days, Dalton, where you can support for 1 cent.
Yeah. All right, next up, producer Ciara.
Producer Ciara's on a streak.
Yeah, she's on a streak.
11 episodes in a row, and a note. And God made the expanse and separated the waters that were under the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse, and it was so. Genesis 1:7. A lot of expansion. Great weekend in Georgia. Thank you, Basil and Gons, for giving so much of your time to CCNT. It is appreciated. That's right. And we've got a meetup report. Do we have all that loaded up, Gons?
Yes, we do, I believe.
Let's do it later on. I just wanted to ping you just in case we needed some tech support. Thank you very much, Ciara. We'll check in with the meetup in a little bit here.
Yes, I'm sorry. I put it in there. I'm just double checking to see if it's the right file here. But yes, it's there. All right. And lastly here is from Eric R.
Drunk Smash coming in with 198 and a note. Oh, this is some more microfiction here. Yes. So are you ready for the microfiction?
Yes.
Okay. It goes like this. Quote, "Then he told me I punch like a podcaster." Gons sobbed. Basil's eyes wiggle as he pats Gons's back consolingly. Quote, "I can flip him if you want." "No, not after what you did to Brett Spiner. I told you Canadian data couldn't be trusted."
The art makes sense.
That's what the art is. Should we just show the art now?
I'm going to show the art now.
Okay, we are talking about Canadian data on some science reports last episode. And Runk Smash sent in this picture of, well, Canadian data. It's data from Star Trek, and he's dressed as a Mountie holding a beaver. This is the most Canadian data I've ever seen.
He is not capable of hatred.
No, both because he is data and Canadian.
Canadian, yeah.
Canadians even capable of hatred? I don't think so.
No. Oh, unless you're Alanis Morissette. Oh,
is she
that lady?
Is she hateful?
You don't remember the album?
No.
Jagged Little Pill. I mean, she went through a bad breakup or something. It was a very angry album.
Poor
Alanis. Yeah. It's ironic, don't you think? All right. Early 90s reference to 90s alternative rock for all our oldies.
Dude. Nice, bro.
I know, so bad. All right, well, that's all the producers that provided their treasure. Appreciate that. You can also support the show with your time and talent. Christine C. Well, she didn't do the timestamps for the last episode, but it's okay. We gave her a little break. But she did message and say, "Oh, I totally forgot," but it's okay. Not a big deal. I think I only saw like one comment in the YouTube that was like, "Oh, where's the timestamps?" So not a huge deal. But
sorry, Buster Brown, you got to listen to the whole episode.
Yeah. Got to click forward or listen to double speed or something. You'll get through it. You'll be fine. So thank you for that, Christine C. and the entire team over there doing the timestamps.
Yep.
Also, you can send us your jingles, which I don't believe we have any today, but we do have some art to share.
One art, please.
The first piece comes from Dame Allie of the Skillet Nation.
One art, please. Another one from Allie now. Here it is.
And this piece is captioned, "Some days Gonzo wished his boxing trainer didn't know his name." And yes, it's a trainer with a megaphone yelling at me.
Yeah, yes, this is Rudy.
Yes,
Rudy. He's giving you the motivation that you need, Gons, to do big, good punches like a good punching boy. And but your arms are looking pretty ripped. So
yeah,
that's
the arms don't look too bad. Yeah,
you've got quite a friendly face on today.
Yeah,
you don't look like you're very fazed by this man screaming in your face with a megaphone.
You know, this depiction of Rudy has a little little bit of a Joe Biden when he was young feel to it. Do you see it?
Oh, no, but I believe you. You've got a beautiful mind, Guns.
Wow, that's a passive-aggressive way to tell me that I'm crazy.
No, it's just aggressive, not passive. Thank you very much, Dame Allie. Beautifully done. And yes, this is exactly how I pictured Gonz's coach screaming at him as well.
Yeah. Well, now I'm going to have a complex. I just picture Allie's picture here while the real Rudy yells at me. All right. Thank you very much, Allie. Appreciate it. Next up, we have one from Sir Dove, Knight of Rusbeltia. Where is my jingle? Here. One-art piece from Dove. And the caption here. Had the idea for this one last week after the article about the murder hornets returning with beheading and terror. Mm-hmm. Beheadings, plural. Sorry, beheadings and terror. You guys and the chat pointed out the similarities between them and the Taliban and how they may have had CIA training to combat the communist honeybees. We catch up with the gang before a press conference where an agency worm coaches. What? Hold on. Let me read that again.
Agency worm, like a CIA.
Yeah, okay. We catch up with the agency worm, coaches them on before the cameras roll, ready to publicly declare jihad on the commies.
Yeah.
Hope you guys like it. Keep doing what you do, and I'll keep praying for you.
Well, I do like it, Dove. I like it very much. And for those who are just listening, this is a recreation of the recent pictures of the Taliban who made their way and took pictures at the desks inside the Afghanistan capital there. They've got a banner hanging, and it's a beautiful rendition of, well, the banner says "kill all bees," but it's done in a script that looks like I forget what the language. What is it? Arabic, something like that. Yeah. And we've got, all the Taliban murder hornets. They're all lined up, holding their guns with their finger off the trigger, which
not everybody. There's
the American agency taught them. No, you didn't. Have you heard the breakdown of the new version of the Taliban and they're much better at their taking pictures now. They keep their fingers off the trigger. And that's what the U.S. taught them, because they used to take pictures where their fingers are on the trigger and they're pointing the guns just every which way. It was very unprofessional, but the U.S. taught them, no, when you're taking pictures, you take your finger off the trigger.
Well, there's a couple of them with their fingers on the trigger. I'm just saying.
I don't see one.
I see one on the left here, the far left.
Okay, this is good. This is the type of stuff we should focus on.
And then there's a guy.
Doing the art is the sort of like non-important stuff, because it's a Dove piece. We've got much more important things to talk about, such as of course, we've got the Gates water bottles all over the place. Gates would have to be involved. We've got the Jihad poster sitting on the thing here. We've got the B, the communist B with the circle and the X through it there. We've got what does that say? Oh, the agency's bag o' tricks.
Box o' tricks.
Got a nice box of tricks there. Yes.
There's a Quran here with a little smiley face in the star.
Okay, good. Well, the star needs to be smiley, that's for sure.
And
this is very well done.
And the angle of the star suggests pentagram, because it's kind of an upside down star. Then you have
we've also got the lineup of microphones down at the bottom, because they're giving a press conference. Of course, you've got a microphone for the Daily Liar. We've got InfoWars. Disinfowars, right? We've got CCR. We have our own thing there, the Commie Cry Radio. And then one that needs no satire added is the CNN microphone.
Just straight CNN. Yeah, it's a parody in itself.
Very good. Yes, those Taliban murder hornets. They're coming for your communist bees, folks. Watch out.
Another small detail here. There's one of the bees in the back has derpy eyes kind of pointing in both directions.
Oh, good, yes.
And also there's one CIA member bee, the worm, sorry, it's the worm.
Yeah, that's the agency worm.
He's got the derpy CIA badge derpy-eyed version of it there. So, yes, very well done.
This is an instant classic, Dove. Thank you very much.
Yeah, very good. Thank you so much. And that does it for the artwork. We do have a meetup report.
Canary Cry Meetup.
You can go to CanaryCry.Meetups.com, where you will find a list of dates and locations where people are organizing meetups, as well as a little banner on how to start your own meetup, thanks to producer Ciara. Ciara just had her Georgia meetup, or hosted the Georgia meetup, and we'll get to that in a moment here. But we have Missouri, 9/11 coming up. Also, Washington and Canada, September 25th at the Peace Arch National Park. And then a new Save the Dates lineup. You got the Missouri, you got the Washington, Ohio, October 30th, NorCal, November 6th, and SoCal, December 4th. Is that the new one? I think that is a new one that she just sent. Okay. You have the Oregon meetup. They just had it, but I think they're going to try to do another one. You got something?
No, I'm just losing control of my hand here.
It sounded like you were
helping people navigate the support page.
Okay. So Oregon meetup, connect with producer Kim, and the email address is there. EU meetup, Mr. Jag at protonmail.com. Contact the Hungry Hungarian if you are in the EU area. Budapest, Vienna, Bratislava, Munich, Arkansas meetup. Pizza Rat is organizing one there. September 25th is when the Arkansas meetup will happen. Oahu, Honolulu, September 11th. That'll be organized by producer Veronica D. So there you go. Those are the upcoming meetups taking place. Again, CanaryCry.Meetups.com. It'll take you right to the webpage. And we have a report from this past weekend at the Georgia meetup. And Ciara sent us a note, and she said, here are the photos from the meetup. The museum was pretty cool. Lots of books about Nephilim and giants. They even had a Bible verse on the wall. Great turnout. And we got to play mini golf after, plus enjoy a wonderful conversation for a few hours. Truly a blessing to converse with like-minded folks and know we are not alone. And there you have a picture. There's Ciara and the good group of folks who made it out there, including one of the Yeti, or the Bigfoots, I guess, a mini Bigfoot statue in the background there.
Yeah. I mean, there's about a dozen people there, including kids. It looks like a great time.
Yeah. I see some familiar t-shirts and stuff. Very cool and good to see everybody. And she also sent us some pictures of the location, the Expedition Bigfoot there, with the Sasquatch, or the Sasquatch Museum. And there's a picture. This is a picture I've seen a lot of the Nephilim. It's like an old news report where these two guys, they're standing in between this, like, what is it, a coffin or something like that, with a 10-foot,
like a 12-foot person.
Huge skeleton.
Spooky Nephilim person.
Yeah, looking all mean too. Looks like Skeletor. And then also some books on the bookshelf. The Books of Enoch among them.
Oh.
Yeah, the Ancient Giants book. I was looking for L.A. Marzulli's book, but I didn't see any.
Yeah, that's kind of weird that he's not in there.
Yeah, well, I guess Sasquatch.
They're more
Bigfoot.
Sasquatch focused, not who do we need? Judd
Burton.
Dr. Judd Burton in there.
Yeah. And the last picture here is the scripture on the wall. It's the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the honor of kings to search out a matter. Proverbs 25:2. Good justification to look for Bigfoot, if there ever was one.
There you go.
And there you go. That's the meetup from Georgia.
I think there was an audio report, wasn't there?
Oh, that's right. Yes, you're right. Yeah. Yes, let me get to that. It is right here.
Hi, this is Ciara. I'm at the Georgia meetup. We're at Expedition Bigfoot, and I'm going to pass the phone around to let people say hello. Hi. I'm Reagan.
Shane Halsey.
Hey, it's Jason.
And Angela. Hi.
Hi, it's Derek. I'm new. What's up, Canary Cry guys? This is Andrew.
So that was it. Everyone here is a little nervous, but we had a good turnout. Andrew drove from Mississippi, a couple of people from Tennessee. I came from Los Angeles, and then some other Georgians. So that's it.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, it's always fun. There's been a pretty good turnout in, I think, almost all of the meetups, at least a dozen people, it seems, in each one. And thank you very much, producer Ciara, for charging it, putting on all these meetups, and to everybody who puts on meetups. And if you want to see if there's a meetup in your area coming up, head on over to CanaryCry.Meetups.com. They're all listed there with contact information with the upcoming meetups. Of course, we've got the Hawaii meetup coming up as well on the September 11th. And if you don't see a meetup in your area, you can create one yourself, and it's very easy. There's some instructions on there. Basically, just pick a spot, pick a date, give us some contact info. We'll put it on the site. We'll tell people about it. People are always asking if we know anybody in their area, and the best way to meet other Canarians in your area, even I mean, one part of it is just fellowship and friendship with people who think the same way, or maybe not think the same way, but at least have similar interests as you. But also, if things get too rowdy, you're going to want to make connections with those types of people, just so you have some contacts in your area, people who are awake, not woke.
Yep. There you go. Yeah. And who was the one from Mississippi? I missed the name. I should go back.
Oh, you mean in the audio?
Yeah, somebody was from Mississippi.
Oh, I forget. Yeah, somebody was from Mississippi.
They need to be careful there. If they test positive, you might.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't isolate. Andrew.
Ciara says it was Andrew from Mississippi.
Yeah. Don't go to jail.
Don't do it. Don't do it, man.
Be like the Australians.
Oh, jeez. Well, in some ways, don't be like the Australians and others. Anywho, there you go, folks. Somebody's asking for a Texas meetup. Put one on. Email us. Okie dokie. What else? We got anything else for today?
I think that's it for the break.
Let's do it. I think it's time to wake up.
It is. Wow, my jingle thing is really slow today. Apologize for that.
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Politics.
It's Latin for many. Tick. Now suck your blood. Now suck
Politics.
Your blood.
All right.
Okay, let's start out here on NBCnews.com. An update on some January 6th things. The headline, Capitol Police Officer Who Shot Ashley Babbitt Exonerated in Internal Probe. The Capitol Police Officer who fatally shot Ashley Babbitt, indeed the only fatality on the day of January 6th, outside a door of the U.S. Capitol during the January 6th riot, has been formally exonerated after an internal investigation, according to a department memo obtained by NBC News. The officer, whose name has not been released, of course, opened fire on Babbitt as she and a mob of other Trump supporters tried to forcefully enter the Capitol. Video of the shooting showed Babbitt in front of a crowd of rioters trying to get through a door leading to where members of Congress were being evacuated on the House side of the building. That's kind of a sneaky way of saying it. A door leading to where members of Congress were being evacuated on the House side of the building.
Yeah.
The room where she was trying to get into was empty, with the exception of a couple of security officers. Yeah. The Justice Department announced in April that no charges were being brought against the officer. The exoneration by the Capitol Police wraps up the last remaining investigation into the incident. The last remaining investigation. A memo from the commander of the Capitol Police's Office of Personal Responsibility says, quote, "No further action will be taken in this matter." After the officer was exonerated for use of force. A lawyer for Babbitt's family declined to comment.
I was just going to say, the Capitol Police's Office of Personal Responsibility?
Mm-hmm.
Is that, I don't know, this sounds like a weird
It's kind of a very friendly name for the department.
I guess, but it's just a weird faction of the Capitol Police.
Gotta have an office of personal responsibility. The officer's lawyer, Mark Schammel, said in a Monday statement that the decision to clear the officer was the, quote, only correct conclusion following the events of January 6th. Quote, the bravery shown by the lieutenant in organizing and coordinating the defense of the House and its members and staff was nothing short of heroic, Schammel said. Quote, the lieutenant's conduct saved lives and helped to end the violent insurrection. Yes, apparently including the shooting of Ashley Babbitt was part of his heroic efforts. In a statement released Monday, the Capitol Police said the officer's actions were consistent with the officer's training and department policy, which states that deadly force may be used, quote, only when the officer reasonably believes that action is in the defense of human life, including the officer's own life or in the defense of any person in immediate danger of serious physical injury. Quote, the actions of the weird how all the other officers had a different opinion of their situation.
I think the article was updated from when you opened it and when I had it opened because it's very different. I'm just having a hard time keeping track of what
are some of the differences?
I mean, just complete paragraphs. Like you jumped into a section that was much later.
I didn't jump into anything.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it in my version of the article, it
restructured it.
Yeah, stuff's different.
Are any of the facts different in yours?
I don't think so yet.
Okay.
I think yours actually has more detail.
Okay.
That's the only difference.
Quote, the actions of the officer in this case potentially saved members and staff from serious injury and possible death from a large crowd of rioters who forced their way into the U.S. Capitol and to the House chamber where members and staff were steps away, the statement adds. Babbitt, an Air Force veteran, was a decorated security forces controller who served multiple Middle East tours from 2004 to 2016, according to Air Force records. In recent years, she posted numerous messages on social media. Numerous messages on social media indicating she was an ardent supporter of President Donald Trump and a follower and promoter of many well-known radical conservative activists, as well as leaders of the QAnon conspiracy theory movement. You know, at least they've started calling QAnon conspiracy theory movement and not the QAnon conspiracy theory. Babbitt was one of 5 people, including a Capitol police officer, to die in or around the riot. Interesting again. They're being a little bit more specific.
Around the riot.
In or around, which is basically she was killed in the riot and some other people had heart attacks or strokes or, of course, now I think we're up to 4 of the Capitol Police officers who have committed suicide or whatever, been suicided, who knows. In its statement in April, the Justice Department said that the investigation did not find evidence that the officer had violated any federal laws and that there was nothing to contradict that he believed it was necessary to shoot at Babbitt, 35, quote, in self-defense or in defense of the members of Congress and others evacuating the House chamber. Officials examined video footage posted on social media, yada, yada, yada. They go into the whole thing. There is an interesting thing at the end here. Babbitt's death has been promoted as an unjust killing by some on the far right who have sought to downplay the violence at the storming of the Capitol, and they have demanded that the identity of the shooter be publicly released. Representative Paul Gosar, Republican from Arizona, has said Babbitt's death was an execution, and he accused the officer who shot her of lying in wait to do so. Trump previously made the false claim that the officer who shot Babbitt was the head of security for a high-ranking Democratic member of Congress. Okay, well, it sounds like these people know who the shooter was, because how would they be able to say that it was a false claim that it was what Trump said?
Yeah. That's a good point. What was I going to say? There was a thing that you read in here that made me think of something about how well, first off, why aren't they releasing the name? Especially if they're exonerated. Is it just because, then the far-right activists will come after them? And
I'm assuming that that's the reason, yeah.
Okay. Because it doesn't seem like...
To protect them.
I mean, there's video of this thing, and it's pretty gruesome video, but it's not like she had a weapon and was threatening this security guard.
Wasn't there like a barricaded door? I mean, I could look up the video again. It was a barricaded door.
There was a window in the door.
And a small window in the door. And I think she was up against the door or something, and he shot her through the window of the barricaded door. Yeah, it was very strange. I mean, again, it's just, I'm sure it was a stressful situation for this guy. And again, the what do they call it? I don't know. The circumstances of his exoneration being, did he believe he was in danger? And that's a pretty easy thing to make a point of. And, I don't know. It's just a weird situation. But it's just weird that it's the one and only guy who shot his gun. Yeah. And, the video of the circumstance is kind of, I don't know, weird.
Well, it's not surprising that this officer would be exonerated. And I guess it just goes to show who's in control here and who has the authority to protect their own. It's not the common citizen. Yeah, the government.
Yeah.
Yeah, the common citizen doesn't really get a voice here.
Especially certainly not if you're a radical domestic terrorist who is, storming the Capitol, trying to cause an insurrection.
Yeah. Well,
okay, what's next?
Moving over here to The Guardian. WikiLeaks, Afghan vice president landed in Dubai with $52 million in cash.
It was only 52. I thought it was a bigger number.
Well, I think he had to physically carry the cash.
Yeah, I thought it was like 162 million. Maybe he had to pay the plane, had to pay the pilot a premium.
Apparently, there's video somewhere of them just grabbing all this cash, and they had to leave a bunch of it because they just physically couldn't take all of it. I was looking for the footage. I can't find it. But it says here in this article, rampant government corruption in Afghanistan and the apparent powerlessness of the U.S. to do anything about it is laid bare by several classified diplomatic cables implicating members of the country's elite. In one astonishing incident in October 2009, the then Vice President Ahmad Zia Massoud was stopped and questioned in Dubai when he flew into the Emirate with $52 million in cash, according to one diplomatic report. Massoud, the younger brother of the legendary anti-Soviet resistance leader Ahmad Saha Massoud, was detained by officials from the U.S. and the United Arab Emirates trying to stop money laundering, it said. However, the vice president was allowed to go on his way without explaining where the money came from. The cables sent by the ambassador Carl Eikenberry detailed the colossal scale of capital flight from Afghanistan, often with the cash simply carried out on flights from Kabul to the UAE.
Okay, so this is not the story of the Afghan president current escaping Afghanistan in this situation. He got out with duffel bags filled with like 162 million. This was in 2009. The vice president just showed up with $52 million in cash. Yeah, well, that's been part of the problem with the U.S.'s involvement in Afghanistan. A huge portion of what we've been doing is just shipping cash and paying off warlords. I mean, that's a big part of what the U.S. has been doing in Afghanistan for 20 years. So, yeah, it's no surprise that this guy just had a couple duffel bags with 52 million in 2009.
Yeah. A couple quotes here. Evidence collected in the case points to corruption involving U.S. funds and actively undermining Afghan government counterinsurgency policy. The cable adds, quote, if contractors complain to the NATO provincial reconstruction team about him, he will have them chained and dragged to his office.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, I mean, I think they're just pointing out the pattern here of, this is from December 2010 also. Oh, why did I get this in here? I thought this was
This is an old
This
article.
is really old. I don't know why I have this in here. I must have mistaken it for the one you're talking about the
I think
the
so.
current
Maybe that's
vice.
what it was.
Yeah, maybe a little mix up there.
Because it was this
it was
Gandhi guy, whatever his name is, the current president or whatever, I guess former president now. I have no idea. Yeah, he escaped with
169 million. That's what it is.
Yeah,
Here it is.
right.
Okay, I found the correct article here. I must have just completely mixed that up. This is neonnettle.com, so take it for what it is. Afghan president fled with 169 million in his cash-filled helicopter.
Nice.
Ghani disappeared when the Taliban surrounded Kabul before storming the presidential palace. However, it has now emerged that he has been given asylum in Dubai on humanitarian grounds after he managed to escape carrying a staggering amount of money. Ghani fled the country on Sunday night, saying he wanted to avoid bloodshed. When Kabul fell to the terrorist group, it capped their military victory that saw the Taliban capture all cities in just 10 days. Excuse me. A presidential palace bodyguard reportedly told Fox News that Ghani made a snap decision to leave Afghanistan on Sunday and did so without assistance from the U.S. There's a photo of the Afghan embassy in Tajikistan removing the former president's picture and replacing it with Vice President Amrullah Saleh, who stayed to fight. The decision made in a matter of minutes came after last-ditch negotiations with Taliban leaders in Qatar to avoid bloodshed as the group surrounded Kabul on Sunday. Joe Biden has spent the weeks before backing Ghani's government, despite warning from his intelligence community questioning whether he and his army would fight in the absence of U.S. support. The source claimed Ghani's decision to leave Afghanistan likely prevented fighting in the streets of the capital. The former president took with him 4 cars and a helicopter loaded with bags of cash, but was forced to leave some of the money behind as it would not all fit on the flight. This guy needs to get into crypto.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, you should have put some of that money in one of those Bitcoin ATMs before he left.
One bill at a time in some Bitcoin ATM. Earlier reports said Ghani had fled to Uzbekistan, citing Russian embassy sources. It was also claimed the former president had flown to Tajikistan, but diverted to Oman when officials in Dushanbe refused him permission to land. But the United Arab Emirates said today that it is hosting Afghan President Ashraf Ghani in Dubai on humanitarian grounds. Meanwhile, Afghanistan's Vice President Amrullah Saleh has stayed in the country and retreated to his hometown in the Panjshir Valley, the only region the Taliban have not conquered, and is massing troops to resist the militants.
Ooh, Panjshir Valley.
Yeah.
Where is that?
I don't know.
The one thing that how do you spell that Panjshir Valley thing?
Panj.
J. That's what I thought.
Panjshir.
Something that is forgotten by some is that Afghanistan actually shares a border with China.
Yes.
We've gone over this, right?
Yeah. There was some tension there.
It's got that weird little peninsula of Afghanistan that goes around Pakistan, goes kind of around India, and actually shares a border with China, which is, again, one of the weirder parts about that country. Because you think about the Middle East, you don't really imagine that it could share a border with China, but it's this very specific geographical little nodule that goes all the way around to China, and it's one of the more suspicious parts about a lot of things that happen in Afghanistan, especially when you start talking about the Belt and Road Initiative from China and any sort of influence that China might have on Afghanistan. Looks like this Panjshir Valley actually is in the direction of that little border that I was talking about, but I thought maybe it was that little peninsula.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Sorry.
Just watching some news over there, some Middle Eastern news.
That came in really hot. Sorry.
You good? Are you done?
Yeah, I was just trying to find this video. Biden? I was just trying to find this video of the cash, the stacks of cash that they try to fit into cars and everything. But yeah, it's okay. We don't need to find it.
Okay. Well, I got this from theguardian.com. The headline, U.S. omits Macron's plea for moral responsibility from record of Afghanistan call. Now, the picture at the top of this is very interesting. It really shows a difference in the leadership here. First of all, you got Biden on the right, who looks like he's sleeping, but also just really looks like a tired old man. And on the left, we've got Macron sort of standing over him, pointing a finger in his chest, staring him right in the face, and Biden is sort of like looking down at the ground.
There's no social distancing happening in this photo.
No social distancing, cloth masks. Oh, these poor guys, they're going to get in trouble.
They're going to die of COVID.
It reads like this. The White House's readout of a call between Joe Biden and Emmanuel Macron on the crisis in Afghanistan leaves out an impassioned plea from the French president that the U.S. and its allies have a moral responsibility to evacuate Afghan allies. The French government's readout of the conversation was released on Friday, a day after the call took place, and indicates that Macron emphasized ensuring the safe evacuation of Afghan citizens who assisted American and European troops over the past 20 years at great risk to themselves and their families. According to the readout, Macron described the mission to evacuate allies as a moral responsibility and told Biden, "We cannot abandon them." The Élysée and Macron, quote, underlined the absolute need to ensure rapid and concrete coordination among allies on the ground to continue evacuations. The White House version, however, made no mention of a moral responsibility to evacuate Afghan allies.
How immoral of them.
Very, yeah. Quote, they lauded the tireless efforts of their personnel working closely together in the Kabul on the evacuation of their citizens, the brave Afghans who have stood by us and our NATO partners, and other vulnerable Afghan nationals. The White House said in a brief description of the call, quote, they underscored the importance of continued close coordination among allies and democratic partners on Afghanistan, including through multilateral fora on the provision of humanitarian assistance and support for refugees. Asked about the difference, the White House just referred The Guardian back to the readout. Tens of thousands of international citizens of Afghans who collaborated, and then goes into the trouble they're in. So this is interesting because, of course, these democratic nations, whenever the presidents talk to each other, they release readouts, transcripts of the conversations as sort of, the free and open transparency. But it turns out that the White House is kind of editing things to make Biden seem less cold and frugal with his handling of Afghanistan. And I think it's interesting that the plea for moral responsibility is what got left out because, again, I would say the left in general, but definitely the Biden administration, their entire facade is built on quote unquote moral responsibility. No matter what the political issue is, they always refer to the moral part of it, trying to, again, if you're getting your morals from the government or letting the government lead your morals, there's a big problem with how you see the world. But, with Biden, it's, their COVID thing is a moral responsibility. They ran on moral responsibility of the southern border, moral responsibility of we got to get the soul of America back. We're the moral party. And so, yeah, having the French president, notorious dictator of France, at least if you listen to the voice of the people over in France, they don't like this guy. He was the first one to propose vaccine passports. pretty much in the world, the first one to sort of force it, at least in the West, definitely. And you have this guy telling Biden that he has a moral responsibility. No, we can't have that. And so you just have the blatant rewriting of history and censoring of what's supposed to be transparent information coming from the government, just blatantly being manipulated for the American people, which is just nice. It's just nice to see it happen in real time, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, it feels more and more like they are setting up the Biden teardown effort.
Yeah, it's definitely plays into that. Yeah, because again, the other part about Biden is, I have such a great relationship. I'm so good at foreign policy, and all the other world leaders, they love me. That's a big difference between me and Trump. They love me. I go all around the world all the time. I'm just such a cool guy. Macron loves me. And then, to be getting called out for a moral failure by a foreign leader
especially Macron.
Yeah, right. Is definitely a hit to Biden's, again, the facade of the Biden administration. So, I think that's right. I think that's exactly why they left it out. And that's why they're getting called out so hard for leaving it out.
Yeah.
This Biden guy's, it turns out, imagine that, Gons. He's not as cool as he says he is.
Oh, really? I did see a thing on Kamala Harris this morning, I think. And I think she's doing her like foreign tour or something, and there's a video of her like waving next to an airplane or something. It's like the first I've seen of her in the news in a month at least.
Sure, where's she at?
I think she's in I don't know. Here, I got this it looks like she's in Singapore right now. This article is from CNBC. It's published, I guess, yesterday, last night. Kamala Harris says the U.S. is singularly focused on evacuating Americans and Afghan allies. Thanks, Kamala. A week and a half after it all falls apart over there. Singapore. The U.S.'s primary focus. Harris spoke to reporters during a joint press conference with Singapore Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, following an earlier meeting where the two leaders discussed a broad range of topics, from supply chain issues to climate change and tackling the global health crisis brought about by the pandemic. Quote, right now we are singularly focused on evacuating American citizens, Afghans who worked with us, and Afghans who are vulnerable, including women and children, Harris said, responding to a reporter's question on U.S. efforts in Afghanistan. Quote, we have a responsibility and we feel a deep commitment to making sure that folks who helped us are safe, Harris added, saying that there should be a, quote, robust analysis of what happened, end quote, later. The Biden administration is facing mounting criticism over its handling of the U.S. military withdrawal from Afghanistan. The country plunged into chaos last week after the civilian government collapsed and the Taliban took over. Thousands have flooded to the Kabul airport in hopes of escaping the country. I don't know. It's just kind of interesting that if we're looking at the optics and the timing, Kamala's doing her tour, across Asia, across different countries, while the Afghanistan thing hits. So a lot of her comments are coming from, a foreign ground there. I need a refresher on the patterns with presidents and vice presidents. Does the vice president usually do kind of the world tour before the president? Because I remember Trump did his tour and he went around, he spent a lot of his time going around to different countries. Did Pence do that, or is that more of a Democrat thing? Because I know Biden did a lot of that for Obama. Like he went to Ukraine and stuff, right?
Yeah, the vice president is sent off more often than the president. Because the president kind of needs to be seen as like being at home, dealing with problems. He makes calls, but he's on the ground. He's in the office. And the vice president is kind of the the emissary who can go out and deliver messages in the name of the president, stuff like that.
Right.
Which I think is why Kamala was so pissed the first time when she had to go down to the southern border instead of getting to go to Europe and stuff. I think she was expecting to get to be able to just like travel the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just curious because they've been so quiet with her. And, you know, and I reflect back to Trump's time and even before that. You know, oh gosh, I'm completely blanking on Pence. Sorry, just had a brain fart moment. Pence. There were long periods of time when we didn't hear from Pence either. You know, it was just like, oh, what? He just, forgot he was a vice president.
Yeah, the difference there was nobody really wanted to hear from Pence. This wasn't very interesting.
That's true.
You know, and I think part of it is Kamala. I mean, they are keeping. The difference is Pence was always a quiet guy. He was never supposed to, you know, he was never really an attention getter. Kamala, her entire thing is built on attention getting. She had big, you know, she was going to run for president. She was a presidential candidate before the primaries in the Democrat Party. Her ambitions. I mean, she's commonly criticized for having ambitions that outsize her skills. And so that's why it's so strange to not hear from Kamala so often, is because she thrives on that sort of attention. Yeah, you know, on one hand, it might not be that strange that we don't hear from her all the time. It's just strange because that's been her MO up until recently. And with such a what's the word? I don't know, contentious situation with Afghanistan and Biden, where basically Afghanistan is completely ruining his reputation, and he's got the Democrats, everybody's against Biden at this point, where usually it's the vice president's job to come out and defend the president.
Yeah.
To bolster party support. She's playing it safe as far as this goes.
Well, you're not only playing it safe, but just not around to. That's why the timing is very interesting to me, because Joe's kind of left on an island. I mean, who does he have? He's got like Jen Psaki yelling at reporters. Is all
not
about
even.
the protection.
I mean, and that's barely even real support. She's already put in her resignation.
That's true.
She's only got like 8 months left on the job.
There was a clip today, I think, that Jen Psaki was yelling at some reporter because they were asked about Afghanistan.
You know, I saw something about that too. I didn't look into it. Something called the Psaki bomb. There's something called a Psaki bomb now, where I guess, you know, they're trying to make her out as like some, you know, fiery person.
Japanese alcoholic drink.
I want to see if we can figure this out.
Yeah,
here.
I'm looking for it too. Jen Psaki just completely snapped at Peter Doocy after he called out Biden's Afghanistan catastrophe and botched withdrawal. Okay, well, that's a little bit of a longer clip that I have here. It's about 2.5 minutes, but let's see if we can get something out of it here. Come on, video. All right, here we go. Oh, what's going on with the internet today? We need a great reset, cyber pandemic. What happened? What happened to my... Okay, something just happened and I completely lost that video. Here it is. Is it?
Guess we're not allowed to talk about Jen Psaki now.
Here we go. Come on. Come on, internet, you can do it. Oh. What in the world is going on with Twitter? Okay. Now I think it'll work. Right? Oh my gosh.
How is that advancing America's national security?
Oh my gosh, why is it only coming out of one ear? What is up with these press audio guys?
Well, it all goes
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Peter, I think my colleague Jake Sullivan spoke to a version of this last week. But let me tell you, let me reiterate some of what he said. When the president made this decision to bring our men and women home from Afghanistan who are serving. He made that decision not lightly. He made the decision with a clear assessment from his national security team about what the impacts could be. We have taken steps over the past few months to retrograde materials, to bring materials home, to make them not available to the Taliban. We have taken those steps from our military. But our choices at hand, the president's choices at hand, were either to equip the Afghan National Security Forces with the materials and the equipment and the weapons they needed to fight, or not. He made the decision to equip them with the weapons to fight, and we will continue to take steps to retrograde our materials and equipment.
But does the president have a sense that most of the criticism
Where's the
is not
slam
of leaving Afghanistan, it's the way that he has ordered it to happen by pulling the troops before getting these Americans who are now stranded? Does he have a sense of that?
First of all, I think it's irresponsible to say Americans are stranded. They are not. We are committed to bringing Americans who want to come home.
As long as you pay us $2,000.
Via text, via email, via any way that we can possibly reach Americans to get them home if they want to return home.
There are no Americans stranded is the White House's official position on what's happening in Afghanistan right now.
I'm just calling you out for saying that we are stranding Americans in Afghanistan when we have been very clear that we are not leaving Americans who want to return home. We are going to bring them home, and I think that's important for the American public to hear and understand.
Okay, and then following up on what somebody asked, Jake, the president likes to say America is back, but his policies have Americans getting beat up by the Taliban and Afghans handing babies over barbed wire fences. Is that what he meant when he said America is back?
What the president meant is that we are going to continue to lead in the world, including being the leaders in evacuating not just our Afghan partners, not just American citizens, but now also our allies. And we have done that by evacuating approximately 42,000 people over the last month. That is Americans leading. That is our men and women in our military leading on the ground, securing the airport after the Afghans fled and didn't secure the airport, and ensuring that we are taking care of our partners as we promised to.
Okay. All right.
Well, that's the big Psaki bomb. I'm going through and reading this. This Twitter Psaki bomb thing is really annoying. I mean, there's some amount of Twitter is like, oh, got him. But the big part is that, he brought up the Americans stranded. She says there are no Americans stranded. And the big thing that sent her off was when Peter Ducey responds, so you're telling me the White House stance is that there's no American stranded, which he said a little trap there, and he did it a little too blatantly. Yeah. But it was a good trap. But she just, again, as it has been and seems always will be the Biden administration's MO, which is just get offended and be mean. You know, it happens to Biden, happens to Kamala. Psaki is the queen of this, where when somebody questions you and pushes back on your, official White House, I mean, let's call it what it is, bull hockey. If somebody pushes a reporter, a free journalist from the Free Press of America asks you a pointed question, it's to become obstinate like a child and, try to and just have an attitude about it without actually giving any good answers. Psaki bomb, nice, got him.
I mean, to be fair, Trump would get angry too. I mean, it was, I guess, for different reasons, but he would also get pretty hot.
It's less about Trump; it'd be more about McEnany. But again, McEnany's a champ. McEnany knew what she was doing. Yeah. I found a Twitter account called Psaki Simp. I think this is an account run by Psaki
herself.
Psaki's aides started a Twitter account called Psaki Simp. And Simp is spelled PSIMP.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
All right. Well, we got one more for you today, and it's a transhuman story. And it comes from the Telegraph. And the headline here, would you really like to live to be 200? Like 200 years old? Mm-hmm. Sergey Young turns away from the screen, lost in thought for a second, then gesticulates enthusiastically, quote, "I'm not looking for immortality, you know. I'm happy with living 200 years, realizing all my dreams." It sounds good to me.
Realizing all my dreams.
Yeah. It sounds good to me, too. He's 49, I'm 46. Do we really have another 150-odd years to go? Quote, "I do sincerely believe," he says in English accented by both the Russia of his birth and of New York, where he works. Quote, "that 20 years from now, the biggest obstacle for us living longer is not going to be science. It's gonna be ethics, regulation." End quote. He's talking about the rules we will have to put in place to cope with us all pottering about for centuries. How such lifespans will affect population, sustainability, the environment, indeed how it will change the very essence of what it means to be human. Big thoughts, and we're only a few minutes into our Zoom call. Young, a venture capitalist who runs the Longevity Vision Fund, which invests in health tech companies promising to defeat aging teams with them. Ideas which occupy others for lifetimes detain him for moments. Big data, AI, quantum computing, gene editing, the microbiome. Quote, "I'm an optimistic, idealistic guy," he says, optimistically and idealistically. Now he's written The Science and Technology of Growing Young, distilling his delight in the cutting-edge technology he sees in his work and highlighting what he thinks will be the big breakthroughs in the short and long term. And there's a photo of Sergey Young, and somebody pointed out that he kind of looks like Pat from Saturday Night Live. Remember Pat?
No.
Oh, you don't remember Pat, the gender-neutral character? Kind of a nerdy character.
I don't, but I believe you.
Interesting. All right, well, moving on. Wearing a dark polo shirt, his jovial, unlined features are a good advertisement for the medicine he's peddling. His dark hair has only the odd streak of gray. He looks relaxed, but then perhaps a holiday in Tuscany from where he is calling will do that for anyone. As he waves his arms, another possible reason for his youthful demeanor becomes clear. He's plastered in wearable devices. Smart watches and rings which track his heart rate and sleep patterns. Quote, "I just took out my continuous glucose monitor." He sounds like a fun guy to be around. His latest health checkup was just a couple months ago. Quote, I didn't even have the colonoscopy, he said, deadly serious. Quote, "the combination of full body MRI and Cologuard, an at-home colon cancer screening kit, was enough." I nod sagely, as though I too have just pooed into a sample bucket and sent it off to a lab. This person is very, very colorful. But he's not wrong that such tests do form part of an ongoing medical revolution. Early diagnostics, prevention, not cure, and are increasingly hardwired into healthcare provision, if only because stopping people becoming sick is vastly cheaper for governments than treating them once they do. Many of us will already be surfing this wave of consumer health tech gadgets, from trackers to smartwatches to fingertip oxygen monitors deployed during COVID. In Young's book, they are producing a wealth of data which, when allied with growing computing power to crunch through it, form the first great pillar of how life will be extended in the near future. How can he be wrong? Personalized predictive medicine is already with us. Gene editing, organ regeneration, and what he calls longevity in a pill. The red pill, we got the blue pill, red pill, black pill, now you got the longevity in a pill, are his other great hopes. The first of these two is here today. The renegade Chinese scientist has already created the first gene-edited humans, twins born in 2018 whose DNA was tweaked to confer resistance to HIV. And I remain marked by an interview in 2019 with Sophie Weldon, then a 21-year-old from Birmingham whose life was saved by CAR-T, a novel therapy which genetically modified her own white blood cells to attack her otherwise untreatable leukemia. Organ regeneration is more far-fetched, more far off, even if Young has put his money where his mouth is, investing in Ligenesis, a company trying to grow functioning new organs to replace failed old ones, using a patient's own lymph nodes. So far, the company is working on growing livers, but Young says, quote, they have many more organs in the pipeline. Human trials start in November. I don't like the way they talk about that, or how Young talks about it. Like, yeah, we got the liver going now. We got way more organs in the pipeline. It's just like a weird business entrepreneur.
Keep organs out of a pipeline.
Yeah. Entrepreneur meets weird, creepy biotech. As for longevity in a pill, such hopes are pinned on drugs like metformin, usually administered for diabetes, which in some patients can have a beneficial effect on other body systems too. But despite thousands of ongoing trials, it's still far from being released as a regulated anti-aging drug. That doesn't deter Young. When we perfect such processes, he believes, quote, living to 150 or 200 years old will become as simple as getting vaccinated today.
No, so simple.
There it is.
Wow.
For the moment, however, and as Young himself admits, regular exercise is, for the most part, safer and more effective. So exercise is safer than getting a vaccine, he just admitted, basically. Indeed, there's no getting around...
And more effective.
Yeah. Indeed, there is no getting around the boring, unchanging truths of staying well longer. Young is most proud of his book's final chapter, which offers 10 top tips, quote, to take advantage of the longevity revolution. Quit smoking is second on the list. Don't drink too much is there too. Sleep and eat well. This is hardly revolutionary, though he is also a keen advocate on fasting. Quote, and in parentheses, every week I'm fasting 36 hours from Monday evening to Wednesday morning, and plant-based diets. I eat meat probably once every 2 or 3 weeks. Oh, so awesome. He thinks that such steps will help him overcome, quote, the cancer barrier and the heart disease barrier, which is somewhere around 60 and 65 years. But he knows that hurdling those only mean crashing into the, quote, neurodegenerative diseases barrier, which is around 80 or 90 years old. But there is a tech solution to dementia too, he thinks. And this is where things get more outlandish. Quote, if we want to help people to fight Alzheimer's or neurodegenerative diseases, he says, integration between human brains and computer is the only way to solve it.
Oh, the only way.
He talks of Elon Musk, whose company Neuralink is working on just such a brain-machine interface, with the goal of enabling humans with paralysis to directly use their neural activity to operate digital devices. He mentions digital representations of the elderly, avatars, which could continue compose mentis as the physical person's dementia deteriorates, or even live on after they die. Creepy. It sounds loopy until he talks movingly of his grandfather, who died in 1995 and whom he was close. Quote, he was instrumental for me. I would love to have the opportunity to have 30 minutes with a digital copy of him in the virtual world. There's so many questions I would like to ask. Digitization, human-robot fusion, what he calls a fundamental redefinition of humans. These are Young's routes to ultra-long life, or even to immortality. Perhaps in your lifetime, he writes, it will become quite commonplace to have healthy 150-year-olds. By 2100, your grandchildren may very well be born with no expectation of ever dying. True, the techno-wizardry he described described to fulfill such dreams, nano-robots whizzing around your body, fixing up en route, sensors affixing your every organ, to every organ, relaying real-time information on cardiovascular function or potential infection, sensory augmentation allowing you to zoom in on far-off objects or hear far-off sounds, hover between reality and fantasy. But the astonishing advances of the last century, from organ transplants to space flight to, yes, life expectancy, which increased by more than 25 years in the 20th century, surely permit such effervescent speculation today. Almost done here. Many of the studies he cites have shown promise in mice or yeast. Of course, as pharmaceutical companies know, it is a big step from there to approved medicine for men and women. But engagingly, Young doesn't dodge the cynic's barbs. Such uncertainty, he freely admits, makes committing money to his fund really risky. He advises against his investors deploying more than 1% or 2% of their available cash on it. And the 14 startups in his portfolio, 2 have gone public. One, Sigilon Therapeutics, is working on, quote, beads that ultimately become living biofactories within the body that produce proteins, hormones, antibodies, and potentially in the future, all other therapeutic substances on demand as the body requires them. It sounds amazing.
Great.
Yeah, sounds amazing, and the people behind it are highly imminent. Yet, Sigilon made its market debut just 9 months ago at $18 on New Year's Eve. It touched $48. Now it trades for under $5.
Oops.
Oh no, crash. To those of us not riding such investment roller coasters, however, it may not be so important that particular manifestation the coming healthcare revolution takes. What matters, and where Young is right, is that in some form it is coming, and we must address its implications sooner rather than later. Will genetic engineering create a race of superhumans and be reserved for the super rich? Can we live longer and still be happy? Can we feed 11 billion people? His answers, correctly, are often counterintuitive. Farming is undergoing its own tech revolution. Demographics point to the world population peaking but then slumping by century's end. Magpie-minded, he talks discursively, hopping from one topic to another to bring us back to longevity. I ask him, oracle-like, how long I've got. At last, he focuses, quote, I think it's extremely high probability for me and you to live beyond 100 years. I feel delighted, but then I realize he doesn't know I haven't actually done my Cologuard test. Doomed after all. And not only that, The Science and Technology Growing Young by Sergey Young sells for $16. Well, no, it's not dollars. What is that? Euros, maybe? Or pounds. 16 pounds and 66 cents. Woo! Six. So there you go.
Okay.
We haven't done an article like this in a while, just talking about transhumanism, and it's mostly like a book promo for this guy. And he's not the first, obviously, to talk about all this technology and how it'll affect us and everything else. But it's a good reminder that a lot of what we've talked about on the show reflects on the topic of transhumanism. We started off there, and a lot of it comes from, or our take on it anyway, our angle on transhumanism comes from Genesis 3 verses 4 and 5, where the serpent is talking to Eve, and he says, "You will surely not die," the serpent told her, "for God knows that in the day you eat of it," that's the fruit, "your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." And it's this promise of immortality, even though Eve technically was an immortal being at that point.
Right.
So there's that kind of switcheroo, and that's kind of the key here, is that this idea, and the reason why the topic of transhumanism is so compelling, and it was to me, especially when I first started looking into all this, because it is a spiritual / religious conversation, this idea of eternal life. And now there is a growing number of people, scientists, authors, whatever, who are becoming religious advocates of this idea of immortality using technology as their vehicle. And obviously that rubs up against this the conversation of a Jesus follower who is promised eternal life for believing in Christ and what he did on the cross and everything. And so I just think it's a good reminder that the transhuman agenda, it continues on. It accelerated with the pandy, and we may be leading to a world where, and we've addressed this scripture a lot, Revelation 9:6, and this is, of course, having to do with the locusts that come out of the bottomless pit. But it does say in verse 6, "And in those days people will seek death and not find it. They will long to die, but death will flee from them." There's a point in time in the future where these people are going to be seeking death, but they won't be able to die, and maybe that has something to do with the fact that they are all jacked up or jacked in to technologies that don't allow them to die, even though they want to. And those will be the same who accept the mark and worship the image and all that stuff written in the eschaton of the Bible. So there you go. Just wanted to land the plane on that for this episode. And that's it. I'm out. You got any comments on this whole guy?
You nailed it.
All right.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. We're going to be back on Wednesday. That's just in a couple days here. Wednesday, the 25th will be the next episode. And remember, we'll need some producers for that episode as well. And I want to take a second and thank all of the producers who made episode 379 possible. And that's starting out with our executive producer, Brandon C., Vladimir S., Patricia B., Emily T., Cool Runningsman, Aaron J., Juan A., JC, Sir Casey the Shield Knight, Malik W., Scott K., Dodie the Coyote, Adam 42, Veronica D., Kim W., Big Tank, Brant W., Aubrey W., Gail M., Dalton H., Ciara, Eric R. Thank you all for making this show possible. And of course, thank you to our timestampers, our artists, our creatives, everybody who makes this show possible. We couldn't do it without you. But remember, you can become a producer for next episode. That'll be episode 380. And just remember, if you've been listening for 1 episode or 10 episodes or 100 episodes, maybe you've been listening since the beginning. If you haven't done so yet, pray about it and consider if you want to participate in the value for value model, because it's the only way that we keep going, folks. And like we mentioned before, we totally understand how the financial situation around the world is sketchier than ever. We are on a 2-day basis for our paychecks, and so if it seems like it's in the cards for you, and maybe the Lord is leading you in a direction to support the show, if you get any value out of the show, please become a producer. And you can do that by heading to patreon.com/CCNT, or if you don't like Patreon, remember there's always CanaryCryRadio.com/support. CanaryCryRadio.com/support. And remember, there's all sorts of ways to help out the show as well. If you're an artist or a musician or a jingle maker, whatever you do, if you're a creative person, create something for the show, by the show, and we'd be happy to feature it on the show. You can send all your creative stuff to CanaryCryRadio.com/support if you like it easy, or CanaryCryRadio@gmail.com if you like it easy, or CanaryCryRadio@protonmail.com.
That's super Biden of you to give out a web address for an email.
I'm super Biden. Dun, 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 dun. Yes, so send all your stuff in. Thank you very much. We love putting that stuff on the show. And remember, you can help out the show also by leaving ratings and reviews. You should definitely do it. If you haven't done it, I see we've got a couple come in since Friday. But remember, we've got a quota for 5 ratings and reviews this week. That means we need at least 3 more people to leave ratings and reviews. And don't get me wrong. You may think, oh, 3, only 3. Okay, somebody else will do it. No, they won't. I promise you they won't. So if you have not left a rating and a review, please do that. It's easy to do. If you have an Apple device of any kind, just search for Apple Podcasts on your device. They all have it. It's a little purple icon there. Click into that. Search for Canary Cry Radio. And oh my gosh, I'm losing it. Canary Cry News Talk. Sorry. Search for Canary Cry News Talk. Subscribe. Leave a rating and a review. It's easy. You'll just pick some stars, leave the stars, and then take a second to tell people why you like the show. There's some funny ones on there, even just to go read them. You should go do that. It'll inspire you on a rating and a review that you should leave yourself. It only takes about 2 minutes. and it's incredibly helpful for the show. I know it seems like nothing, seems trivial, but it makes a huge impact on how the algorithms are activated to share the show with people who have never heard it before. And just think, your rating and review could be responsible for getting like hundreds of new people to find the show. So please go do that. Thank you very much for doing that. You can also help out the show by sharing it. Share it on your social media, put it on your tweeters, do whatever you need to do. Maybe, inscribe it onto a stone, put that stone into a hyperbaric chamber, launch that into space, and hopefully maybe some aliens or something will find it, or it'll come crashing down to Earth. That spacecraft will land somewhere in Australia, and then some Australians will find the spacecraft, find the stones inside the spacecraft, and listen to the episodes that you enjoy so much. I'm just trying to make a point. There's lots of ways to share the show, Gons. It doesn't just need to be on social media. But you have friends and family. They're starting to wake up to the fact that the world is not what it seems. And you can make them even better friends and even better family. Because they need to feel connected with the fact that the mainstream media, not only is it sometimes just blatantly lying, but it's financially incentivized to monopolize their attention and convert it into dollars for corporations and advertising companies. So there you go. We like to call it rattling cages. And if you need any more instructions, here's what you do. You walk right up to them, you grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. All right, Gons, any last words?
I think that's it. Gotta go to the gym. Hit some bags.
Let's go. Do some punching. It's punch time, everybody. So thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage. It's punch time.
I do it with everyone, black and white, young and old, straight and LGBTQ, powerful people, friends, strangers, people who I meet on the street.
State and federal health officials.
Billion, aliens.
Pay them more. They wrote the bill.
Give me a break. Need time.
Come on, man.
Aliens.
Billions.
They've been creating animal-human hybrids for decades.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
I want to shake things up, shake things up. I want to shake things up, shake things up. Leave the bird alone. I want to stir up some controversy. I want to rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
In the future, humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
Vaccination.
Safe and
Everybody loves waffles.
I'll keep you safe and warm now. In my people's zoo.
Screw your freedom.
You, yeah, you. In my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on. In my people's zoo.
Screw your freedom.
I'll keep the
I do kiss people on the forehead. I do kiss people on the cheek. I do kiss people on the hand. I do hug people, men and women.
Everybody out there offered a vaccine. Don't ask any questions. Please take it.
Controversial.
I'll make you fat and sassy in my people's zoo.
Everybody wants waffle.
I'll make you fat and sassy in my people's zoo.
Controversial.
In my people's zoo.
I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
Do not come back, you Nazi psychopaths.